Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dope Check, episode number 34. We're officially back. We've had a little break over the last couple of weeks. There's been the slowest rostermania we have probably ever seen. So many things have caused this to be a remarkable roster period where we're a couple of months after the World Championships and we still basically know nothing about what next year's rosters are actually going to be. But over the last few days, we have had some major developments. The Los Angeles Thieves Superteam, what are Toronto saying about it? What are New York saying about it? A Cloud9 fumble in the bag majorly on this one. Big developments elsewhere as well, what Toronto's new team is going to be, what Surge are working on, whether OpTic FaZe should have stepped in to prevent Los Angeles Thieves doing what it seems like they're doing. Welcome back to the chat, everyone. Those joining us live on Twitch as it stands, those after the fact and all the other podcast, audio, and YouTube itself, drop a like, drop a 5-star review, you know the vibe. It's good to be back. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Ace, you're joining us from another new location. Globetrotting as always. It's good to be back.
Absolutely. You guys know me, always world traveler, back in Los Angeles yet again in a different location, secret location. But if you can tell, there's some MVP trophies behind me, so keep that in mind. Guys, so much drama, so many opinions I think I'm ready to give about all these moves. Gentlemates, we have them possibly coming in as well. The French Connection, HyDra, Scrap, all these guys, where they're going. I'm excited to talk COD today. And also, as always, like, comment, subscribe. We're back, baby. The more love you give us, the more we're going to come back and give you guys the shows. Man, I'm so excited to be back. So excited to talk COD today, man. Trey, what's going on, bro?
Wow, what a time, honestly. I feel like the last show that we should have ran was probably my fault because I'm on a sleeping schedule that doesn't involve me waking up at a good time. So you can all thank me for that. But also we've got a Globetrotter, Rab, so we can play him too. And who knows where the face is half the time because I don't. He's
That's MVP Ace. Don't know what you're yapping about. Yeah. That's his MVP trophy right there.
Listen, I won't say too much, but it's a pleasure to be back. There's a lot of things that have happened recently. A lot of COD to talk about. Like you said, it has been a slow rostermania in that aspect. We thought it'd actually be quite a crazy one. With all the littler moves, but I feel like the craziest thing has happened, and let's get talking into it.
Let's talk about Clay. I wanted to start off talking about a couple of rostermania things, and I'll maybe fix the cameras so we're not so you can't see any of us in a second here. But Clay talked about this a while ago now, the difficulty in the getting an offer in the CDL, and he's been tweeting quite a lot about other possibilities. He even tweeted to Shifty, who we'll talk about him in a second actually, because there's something to say on that. But effectively, Clayster implying that he might think about going pro in Warzone. And it's an interesting question, because a guy like Clay, I think, is definitely someone who wants to compete if he can. He might be in a similar position to where Crim was, where him getting an actual offer in the league is going to be a challenge and an uphill battle. It's possible. I think teams will think about Clay, sure. Will he get an offer on a team that he really wants to be on for decent money? Probably not at this point. So it raises the question that if he still wants to compete, then what are his options? And it's not, we talk about it quite a lot, that there's no real reason for some of these Warzone guys coming to the CDL because they can make more money playing Warzone. So the same is probably true the other way around.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start off just saying that, I think Clay... It's unfortunate how this league works. It's unfortunate how tight it's becoming. I don't know. I think we heard a clip of Pat talking about this, Aches talking about this. It's just some of these teams don't know how to run an organization. They don't know how to build a roster. Clay is one of those veterans that, although they call, his reputation has turned into toxic Clay or whatever, he's still a leader, bro. He's still a certified champ. His eye for talent is unmatched. You could go down the line of people he's picked out in their first or second years and seeing the talent that he's scouted and brought into the league. So, I mean, if I'm a bottom tier team, if I'm a, even a lower mid tier team, and I'm looking for a leader, I'm looking for someone on my team that can be, provide that roster building leadership. Why would you not take another? It's not even a chance. Why not just pick Clay and get your certified leader for sure and then build around him? Unless it's players not wanting to play with him, unless it's something else that we don't know about, I don't see why Clay doesn't deserve a spot on at least 4 teams that are in this league for next year. I don't get it.
I think it's just the online aspect. You know what you get with Clay on LAN, but you know what you also get with him online. You know, we saw it last year. Online just isn't. No one likes online. No one. But you see the difference between him online and LAN, like his whole like demeanor is he looks like he wants to be at LAN, and you know, online it just looks like a drag, especially when they lose. Like I don't know. I feel like that's a big aspect of it. I think we all agreed on it last year that like when it comes down to online, like he don't look happy, which is understandable. No one's happy playing online COD, but you know, I feel like that plays a big factor in it because online COD is such a huge factor.
The other aspect of it too, I'm not sure like him going to Warzone. I don't know if that's the solution. So I mean, you guys can have your takes on that. You know how you see that, but I think if Clay goes over to Warzone, I don't think it's going to be as simple as he imagines it maybe to be. He'll still be good, but I think there's a different level to that game, a different type of play style. It is not exactly competitive, and I would think that yeah, it'd be easier for a CDL pro to go to Warzone and get good. For sure, I think that's, you know, this argument has come up a bunch of times. What's easier, Warzone to CDL or CDL to Warzone? But I think Clay going to Warzone is gonna have a tough time adapting, and also maybe even getting some teammates there that trust. You know, a CDL pro coming in. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a lot more difficult than he imagines trying to convert over to the Warzone scene.
I think also,
Yeah.
I would say my camera's frozen for some reason, but I'll get it back in a second. That it's for Clay's side. If you go to Warzone, you're still dealing with all the online bullshit. You know what I mean? Like it's still on some level the same thing. You're not necessarily gonna, you know, it doesn't fix itself overnight. You go to Warzone, you've still got scrims. You've still got, and arguably it's even worse because you're playing more online COD. So I don't know. Maybe in Clay's head he feels like it would be something different and refreshing, and maybe it would be. But equally, I feel like is Clay gonna grind competitive Warzone for like 7, 8, 12 months into next year's World Series of Warzone and not lose full? Like I don't know. And also when you're used to fighting for championships and world championships and event wins, there's only so much you can take. I mean, there was a big story in Formula One this weekend. Daniel Ricciardo, driver that won like 8 races in his career back in the day, and he's been driving for a shit team basically for the last couple of years to try and get into a better team. And this most recent weekend, he's basically had his final race. But he was saying to the media, like, there's only so long that I can be fighting at the back of the grid, having previously been fighting at the front of the grid before you just lose the plot. And I feel like that could be happening to guys like Clay. Like, there's surely only so much fighting to make champs you can do when you know, are a 3-time world champion. So maybe part of it's like, well, if you go to Warzone, at least you're fighting for championships, but equally you're not fighting for championships maybe of the same caliber.
No, I love that point out of you, Reb. I really do love that point. But the one contention I have with it is that Clay, I think if we would all agree, chat would agree, everyone would agree that he has a spot doing some sort of media on the desk with the CDL almost 100%, right? Like that's pretty much an assurity for him, right? But I love that he still is trying to find his footing in the competitive aspect, which is in contrast to this Daniel Ricciardo example you gave. You know, he's saying, I'm getting to my wit's end basically with this, whereas Clay is saying, okay, CDL's, you know, throwing me to the side. Fuck it, I'll go to Warzone and I'll take over there and I'll prove my worth in another competitive game. So I mean, I love the spirit out of Clay. I think Clay still got that competitiveness to him, and it speaks volumes when he can go sit on a desk and get a paycheck for free, but he's instead picking to still pursue competitive. I think that's something to appreciate with someone like Clay.
Just like that, you know, suffering from success type shit, you know. Always, like, Clay was all born when they've always been winning, and then, you know, now I feel like he's at the time where, like, he feels like he has that in him to win, but it's like you said, Rap, like, you know, using examples where, like, you're on a shittier team to try and push yourself more towards the top, but it doesn't exactly go that way because you're not getting the placements and you're not getting the performances out, and, you know, then you just dwindle down. Do I think Warzone's the play? I think he'll have fun for like a month or two. and then he's just gonna be like, nah, fuck this. Like, I can't do this
Yeah,
shit.
we're back on the desk.
Like,
Yeah.
I've been anchoring Spawn since 2006, and now I've got to try and anchor fucking Verdansk. Like Warzone's fun until you compete in it, and then I think Warzone turns pretty toxic and ass in my opinion.
It would be
Yeah, I think
interesting
someone in
to have it though. Yeah.
I think someone in chat said, like, I like this. Leave Call of Duty before Call of Duty leaves you. I think that's a fair assessment too. Like dragging it out this long, if going to Warzone, imagine it. The only downside to this is if Clay goes to Warzone, imagine he just kind of like fizzles out. I would hate to see that for a legend. I think seeing him, still with some fire in him, maybe taking it to the desk if that's what he wants to do, or going a content route would be better than him going to compete in something where potentially he doesn't reach that level of success that we all want for him.
I mean, that's what I've kind of done I didn't even play Black Ops 6 beta. I didn't touch it. I don't actually plan on touching COD that much next year. I think I've fallen out of love with the game horrendously, which is fine. I can happily sit here and talk about it with you guys. I can watch it, but to sit there and play it mindlessly for like 12 hours a day, I think that's just left me. I'm getting old now, I've been playing COD since I was 7. Like, it's just, yeah. Like, I feel like that's happened to a lot of players as well. I just feel like they're playing for the money, which is perfectly fine. I'm happy with that. I'd be doing the same shit. You said, someone said to me, Trey, you got, we'll throw you some money to play COD. Fuck it. Yeah, I'll look like I'm enjoying myself. Fuck yeah. But I know a lot of people are like, they're playing for the love of the fact that they're competing. But you give them the same amount of money on a different game, they're going to accept that 1,000,000%.
I think it's it's an unfortunate reality, but equally, it's like the same point. When you've spent part of your career playing Black Ops 3, and now you got to play MW2, like it ain't hitting the same, regardless of how things go. So,
of course, this guy gets a Black Ops 3 fucking cocksucking real quick.
But I really do think these off seasons. I think these off seasons do kill a lot of like love for COD out of like pros and people that like COD in general, because when you go into the off season, no one really plays COD. They play games that they have fun in, that they might not necessarily be great at, but they're having more fun in it. And then they go back to COD and they're like, fuck, like this game is ass, but I gotta play it because I'm getting paid to play it,
Yeah, the passion for a lot of these players is gone. That's only one thing. Again, I spoke on Clay's a positive that he could get, go to the desk, still chooses to compete. That's great. But a lot of that's one difference between some of the older players and the younger players that I like a lot about the younger guys is that passion for competing, passion for COD, the love of the game hasn't necessarily burnt out yet. It's not just like a systematic yearly routine. It's for them. It's exciting. It's fun. It's new. That's one of the positives I think about these younger guys that we're speaking on a bit here, that they're still excited about the game. And what Trey said is absolutely true.
Yeah, some guys, like, as Quantum saying in the chat, Draza does just have insane passion. I don't know but then again, Draza, like, he hasn't been playing COD as long as some other people. So give Draza another 10 years of grinding COD like this. We'll see if he still does it every day.
That's how you know you got a little man right there, sticking it through, loving the COD through MW2, MW3. Like, that's a loyal man right there. Because fuck me, I saw MW2 and that was me out of there. Like, that was my final straw. That the fact he still hops on smiles playing the fucking game, like that's insane passion. That's love for the game. That is. That's unteachable.
Yeah, I mean, people in the chat saying, "Oh, these guys are still playing Black Ops 3 Charles daily." It's like, I'll still be playing Black Ops 3 Charles daily if I was good enough and I could add the boys to play with. So sometimes a bit different.
I joke with Rab, but I mean, I'm on the same camp. Me and Rab agree on this 100%. Black Ops 3 is the best COD. It's just the best, most fun.
I mean, Dashi knows ball. Look at this tweet from today.
I knew he was the GOAT for a reason, bro. I knew Dashi was the GOAT for a reason.
Bro, I would finish scrims, yeah. Finish scrims. Have a doner kebab.
Oh my god!
Straight into UMG chows. Against the Spanish, the Germans, we're paying like $2, $5, $10. We're playing that till 5 a.m. Then Trey sleeps until 5 a.m. till he's got to wake up for scrims. We rerun that for 9 months straight. Honestly, one of the greatest times of my life, I swear to you.
Yeah. What a time, genuinely.
Now you pay me 20 grand a month back then to play that shit. Wow.
Wow, no.
Wow.
No.
I would have been 400. I'd have been 400 pounds. Trust me. I'd have been fat as fuck, just jetpacking around the place.
Oh, I love it. Okay, let's talk about the next kind of one step further from that. Is Shifty taking the piss? We saw that clip from Shifty. We probably didn't get a chance to talk about it on the show, but he was asked by RuPaul's, like, if you had to replace someone in the league, who's it going to be? He says, give me AG, get me on the OpTic team. There's a bit of drama about it. People debating whether he was calling AG out or whether he was more like, I want to play for OpTic, so AG is the guy that I'm going to replace. But Shifty, hot off his latest World Tour is a Warzone win with Biffle and Soka, comes through and says, all right, free agent for the Black Ops 6 CDL season. If I don't do it now, I never will. Shifty says, I need a ring in the replies. He was also replying to Cloud9. So Cloud9 then tweeted at him, probably a bit of bait, you know how it is, but they tweeted at him. And then Shifty says, I'll run that French guy. Of course, a French guy that's no longer going to be on this roster, right? So they need someone to replace him, I guess. So, like, is he just baiting, or do we think he's serious about this?
I don't think Shifty's the guy to replace HyDra if we're talking respectiveness.
I don't think he's necessarily. I think it's like a 50% troll. I think it's 50% to see what interest he would get, right? And anyone in the chat that thinks, or in generally anyone that thinks that Shifty wouldn't be a competitive player in the CDL, I think you're dumb. I think you're faded. Shifty would absolutely be a force in the CDL. He's proven it in Warzone. That game does take a lot of intelligence as well. Obviously, gunny as well. So I don't see why he couldn't convert over. It would obviously take a little bit of getting used to. It's just a 4v4, the game modes and such. But to think that he would get stomped on or be a bottom tier player, considering how dominant he's been in Warzone in the last year, is just foolish. You're absolutely fooling yourself to think like we wouldn't want him in the CDL and he wouldn't be someone significant in the league.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't know how good this guy would be, but I cannot deny that I would be excited to see the possibility, right? Like, I think my feeling is on this whole CDL versus Warzone debate, people get too defensive on either side. And people, you know, they try and drag the Warzone players down a lot, which I get it. And obviously there are levels to this game, so I understand that too. But equally, it would be a great storyline if someone like Shifty was to get an offer from the CDL to see how it would go. Maybe he comes in and gets shit on, and that'll be entertaining. Or he comes in and does well, then it's going to open the door to a lot of other possibilities. Of course, the big debate here, I can already see Exceed's tweet that he's going to write if Shifty gets the spot, about how disrespectful it is to the Challengers players right now. You know, like, obviously he deserved the spot instead, and all of his boys deserved the spot and all this. I get it, right? Like, I get that angle as well. But, you know, Shifty is not going to grind through challenges. Like, you know, he's either going to get an offer from a team that's interested, or he's not.
But respectfully, he has to go through challenges. Like, you don't play hardpoint, you don't play S&D, you don't play control. What was he going to do? Just walk straight into a fucking starting lineup with no spawn knowledge?
Well, Sleepy did that.
Wow, that's crazy. My argument for Shifty is still, he's proven himself to be a smart player. Again, Warzone is COD mechanics with a little, ATS, a little bit of loudness EQ. And
he's going to get spawn trapped by the fucking tiny terrors and think, fuck, you know.
It's like worth it. Like,
he's going to play he'd play one game of invasion control, realize he ain't gunning Simp and Abizi off these fucking egg glitches that's caught him in there, and he's going to go, fuck, you know, back to Warzone I go. Also, I think if you're I will say this, I think if you're at the top of Warzone, I think you'd be dumb to come to the CDO.
Yeah, I think that's to me that's the most important point right there. Like, he's dominating there. It's not even close how good his team is comparatively to number 2, number 3, number 4. It's not even close. So him coming over to CDL, I think again is him just not trolling. I think it's just to see what kind of bag he could get if he came over. The only other point I want to make is just we need some sort of crossover. And I made this point earlier in Dope Check. I don't know what episode, but very early on in Dope Check, that I felt the biggest problem with the CDL these days, compared like why we can't get back to the Black Ops 2 glory and all that, is definitely due to the fact that there's now majority of people will start playing Warzone first because it's free. Battle Royales are more popular now. They're more like, that's, the Fortnite, Warzone, these kind of games became the new thing. So everyone plays that now. So having some crossover between Warzone, CDL, and having some players kind of cross-pollinate, honestly, for the scene as a total, as Call of Duty as a whole, the whole scene community, I think is at some point needs to happen. It is necessary for it all to grow kind of in unison, rather than Warzone kind of going up and CDL either being stagnant or honestly on more of a downward direction. So I think we need that cross to happen at some point with Shifty or not him soon enough.
I actually get that point.
I just don't think it's worth it though.
For him or for who?
Even some of the worst Warzone players that compete in these tournaments, like they're still making money.
That's true. I see that angle as well. The Warzone scene for streaming, and even for those the competitions they do have, end up making a lot more money. I feel like the average Warzone player makes more money, I feel like, a year than the average CDL player. Do you agree or disagree, everyone?
Because if you're on a bottom team in the CDL, you're probably on the minimum, which is like 50,000, which is still good money. But, you can't stream all day. You go to tournaments, you place last, so you don't get any money from there. Like, there's no tournaments during the week or anything like that. You just got to play online matches. Where in Warzone, there's a tournament pretty much every day where, some people, you can easily make $1,000 a day. And then on top of that, you're streaming. Like, fuck, I'm about to move over to Warzone.
This is the calculation that Clay has run in his head, I think.
Like Clay, listen, if Clay moved over to Warzone, he would genuinely kill it too. That doesn't mean he's going to win every event, but content-wise, yeah, he would kill it.
Yeah, even if you go over to like TikTok, like again, if people are like younger TikTok fiends in the chat, y'all can agree with me too. Like on TikTok, besides Shotzi maybe, every biggest creator on TikTok for COD is all Warzone people. Even regular streamers get clips in Warzone that go viral. You don't see any multiplayer clips that go viral on TikTok or IG Reels or whatever it may be. So content-wise, stream-wise, all that, we need to find some connection between Warzone and the CDL for the benefit of the CDL before this downward direction of the CDL keeps going. We need to find something to connect with them. Have to.
My guy is playing Warzone for the Falcons. Trust me. Stay there, brother. Stay there.
That's the point that I was going to make is like, if he was to come to the league, the CDL, it's more likely that it would be when Falcons, if they decide that their 4-man Saudi team ain't hitting, they could say, look, Shifty, Biffle, you want to come in, give it a go, work with the boys? That would be interesting.
What, Soka can go fuck himself? Yeah,
yeah, respectfully. I don't know, I'll just get Biffle in.
Nah,
Biffle for Roxas. I heard it here first.
You're playing for Falcons in Warzone. You're making the bag. You've just made a fucking shit ton of money. Don't come over here, bro. Trust me. Don't. You're about to get backwards slid on by a Beezy, and then realize the shit ain't sweet over here, man. It ain't. You're gonna go backwards sliding Omni movement and down the stairs. And you got to realize that like you've got it nice over there, Shifty. Stay there. Trust me. Seriously.
My last thought on this is, unless he could be on a bottom tier team that like doesn't care what he does necessarily, and he just scrims kind of half-assed and then plays Warzone 2, I don't think that's possible. I'm just saying, unless there's a way where he could just like basically be a staple content piece for some bottom tier org that doesn't expect to win anything. Sure, if they throw a bag at him, get an extra 150K, fuck it, take it. And then play Warzone 2 and somehow play both. That's the only way where it can make any type of sense. Otherwise, per the advice of everyone on the show, yeah, Shifty, do not come to CDL. Stay in Warzone. Stay in Warzone, make your bag, 10K tournaments every single week, basically. Our S&D tournaments are what, 2,500 if we get a lucky S&D tournament. It's not worth it in the end, honestly, unless you're making an OpTic FaZe, LAT, or maybe a Cloud9 bag, it's not worth it. And I don't see any of those teams offering Shifty a spot. So that's kind of the end all be all for that conversation.
Listen, the CDL is a dying breed right now, Shifty. You see what's happened? We've got pay cut left, right, and center. People getting dropped left, right, and center. Don't come over here. Trust me. It's like a dying city. We're trying to replenish.
Yeah, we're trying to keep this shit alive. Like,
Stay over there, buddy. Stay.
Repaul said he's making as much as Shotzi. Honestly, I believe it. I believe it.
nah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's possible.
I would think in the ballpark for sure. I would think in the ballpark for sure.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that one.
It depends on streaming revenue, to be fair.
Streaming revenue,
Right,
10K
right,
tournaments.
right.
He just won. They just won in Saudi. Like, bro, come on. Think about all these numbers here.
Shotzi's salary. Shotzi's stream numbers in general. He's doing 7 to 10K a stream with 7,000 subs. Respectfully, he ain't making nowhere near a Shotzi. I'm gonna say it right now.
How many subs does Shifty have? Anyone know? Because they're saying Shotzi has 10K. How many does Shifty have? Anyone know? 9K? Or I'm not sure that's Shotzi or him, but I don't know. All I'm saying,
I don't know. Like, it's also it's not all about the subs on Twitch, to be fair, nowadays. But yeah.
Yeah, but
Shotzi,
then you look at Shotzi's ad revenue.
Shotzi can't stream as much during the season. Keep that in mind too. This guy Shifty is streaming all day. His scrims, he's just streaming all day, top to bottom. Shotzi for 8 months out of the year basically can't stream for 80% of the day. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why you have to the people are thinking of it just right now, this minute off season time. But overall, if you look throughout the year, I don't see a world. I actually see the world where Shifty makes close to what Shotzi makes. Maybe Shotzi makes more. We can agree to that, but they're probably in the same ballpark, closer than people would imagine that a top Warzone player would make. I think it's closer than people imagine.
I mean, Shotzi streams 7-8 hours a night whilst competing.
This guy's a goat.
Love that.
Warzone Pros winning to stay 3, not 4.
I'm not trying to pocket watch, but Shotzi's by far making more. Trust me.
Nah, but his salary's cooked. We'll get to that in a second. We'll see. Okay, the other thing I want to talking about the CDL dying, another one. Miles the Ross, free agent. So, let's just go through this real quick.
This is kind of a good thing for Miles, though.
Yeah, I actually think it's going to work out for the best.
I think Miles is going to make way more money and have way more fun doing this. Obviously, it's nice being, protected, I guess, by salary.
Yeah.
And this is very risky in terms of if he gets job opportunities. But we're talking about Miles the Ross here.
Yeah.
This guy is one of the greatest commentators in esports history. He's gonna be fine. Everyone's a bit annoyed about it. He's still gonna be doing COD. I promise you that. He's still gonna be at the events. He's just gonna be on a contractor. You know what I'm saying? They're just gonna hire him instead.
Exactly.
This is very good for Miles in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's for the best, probably for all parties, but it just kind of goes to show again that I think Miles and Chance maybe were in the same way that Merc and Maven used to be full-time employees. They then stopped that relationship. I think Miles and Chance had it for a little bit. And then clearly that's now going as well. So whatever they were paying Miles and Chance in the last 12 months on an exclusive deal, they're now going to get paid, I guess, effectively a day rate. And it also might change up a little bit what we see for the online qualifiers, just because obviously Miles and Chance, as the premier duo that's casted all of the last 3 World Championship Grand Finals, their day rate, the rate that they charge is going to be higher than for Shift and Study, I'd imagine, which means that for the online qualifiers, are they going to do the same shit they did with Merc and Maven and be all right, we're only bringing you guys in for the majors? Then that kind of changed again this year. As you say, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's probably for a good thing for Miles. As you say, he's so talented, he'll do other esports, he'll make more money, he'll make a better name for himself, more people get to hear his voice, it's only going to be good. But equally, it is the CDL trying to save you know, a couple of tens of thousands, I guess, by not having to pay them the salary that they would.
This is just the esports world we live in right now. Let's be honest. You know, everyone knew this was coming. We've got, you know, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but we've got pay cuts coming in the CDL, like from players. People like we're laying off one of the greatest commentators in esports. Like, it's gonna get way worse before it gets any better.
Agreed. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about some teams, because this has been one of the big holdups in terms of why we haven't seen any crazy roster shit yet. Here he goes. So, we've got rostermania, but one of the reasons why we haven't seen that much happen is because we've still got some team drama behind the scenes. And that's the shit that some of these teams have to figure out. The latest rumor is that Boston are going to not only run it back with their roster from the World Cup, so we're talking Cammy, Wake, Purge, and Snoopy. Questionable, but it is what it is. But the big question was, are they even going to exist as an org anymore, right? Because the big debate was whether they were literally just going to die and, you know, Oxygen Esports is going to go, Boston Breach are going to go, GG, you know, rest in peace. But they've got a little bit of a documentary series they seem to be running, and the latest feeling is that Boston will be sticking around in COD. They're not going to be dropping big money like before, so Boston fans, I don't know if they're going to run an event next year. I mean, I hope that they do. It's a good event, but equally, if they haven't like made a profit, or at least broke even running it the last 2 years, and I think they probably got close, but I don't know if they did break even or whatever, then they might just have to decide not to do it because they don't have the funds, which would be a shame. But equally, they might get roasted a bit less here on the show because they're not committing $400,000 to contracts to then shit the bed every event and break some of the records for being the worst team of all time.
We still be roasting.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good for the organization. I understand what they're following. They're following the Royal Ravens / you know, the Royal Ravens, Paris Legion tier of doing things, essentially. I think they just picked 4 guys up. They're going to pay them minimums. They're going to pay them as the lowest they can, essentially, get them to play COD for them. Still have a team represented in the org. And honestly, at some point, I think they're going to, considering the rumors of this year, probably like every other team that's kind of fallen out slowly, try to sell their spot to someone for more and recoup their losses. I don't know. It's kind of sad that that's what we're seeing with almost every organization that's not in the top 4, top 5. It's just everyone's coasting until they can sell to a bigger and better team. Unfortunately, I think Boston might be on that route, or they're just playing this year, kind of testing the waters. We'll see what happens exactly. I just, you know, I'm not a fan of them. I understand it, but I'm not a fan of them just kind of coasting, putting players on minimums, and just letting the year, whatever happens, happens. Like going with that flow, not being competitive.
Well, this is just the issue we have right now, is orgs want to join, but like it's another Paris situation in my opinion now. Like they're gonna support them the best they can, but realistically, there's probably an org out there that would take their spot and like do better with the spot. I think they're trying to just keep their spot here. And like you said, like they're just gonna be a team that's just, you know, holding on, I guess. And I'm not even talking about the players. I'm talking about the org in general. Like we saw we saw everything happen pretty quickly. How they were just going to disband the org, everything like that, get rid of it, be done with us. Now they're back. They're just putting minimal funds into it, and they're just going to ride the year along like a Paris Legion would. I don't even know. I don't even know what the situation is with like players and like, you know, where they're going to stay and stuff like that. If rent's going to be paid for. You know, it's a weird time in the CDL, honestly. It really is.
Yeah, it's a situation like another one bites the dust. You know, like, oh, we had an organization with potential. Like, oh my god, they're doing good things. They're putting out content. They're running events. Oh my god. And this might be the most dramatic fall of an org from potential to like realization out of any org in the CDL so far. This might be the worst drop off.
Probably because Gorillas never showed any promise, really. I think that's the
They just
other
had a
team.
shit ton of money.
They just had so much cash, but they never had any idea what they were doing with it. And apart from that one event win in Vanguard, they never really, it was never a thinking that they would actually be a competitive franchise. Whereas Boston actually showed glimpses of knowing what they were doing. Like, they would run events, they would be able to make a Sunday, they were trying to make changes to improve their team, but then they just bottled it, and Robert Kraft's got pissed off, so they're out of there. So yeah, no cheeky monkey major this year.
Unfortunately, not many. Again, they came in this year with a good roster. They came in this year with good leadership, good players. You know, paid proper money. And I really wish they didn't bomb out the way they did, because then, you know, if they didn't get last, if the second half of the year didn't end up how it did, I really think Boston would have continued this year being a reasonable org that players want to play for. Whereas this point, again, they felt such a crash, such a body slam from what their investment. Yeah, it's gonna be several years at least, or you know, they might sell before that, but it'll be several years before they even feel comfortable putting a reasonable investment in the CDL, and that's sad considering, again, we're just becoming a more top heavy league every single year as we develop in the CDL. It's getting worse, that's not a healthy sight to see.
Yeah. Okay. One potential piece that could be of good interest is this whole Gentle Mates thing. So obviously we're going to talk about the God Squad, the Super Team, and everything like that. And Gataga, quite quickly after this was talked about, came out on stream and said, like, we ain't signing HyDra. It's not going to happen. Like, it is what it is. But he did say on stream that conversations are happening, and the intention is, right now, of Gentle Mates, Gataga's organization, massive content creator in the French scene, former professional Call of Duty player back in games such as Black Ops 3, for example, among others, in the CWL and earlier than that. Yeah, exactly. Years like that for the French scene. He retired, he's made it massive on the content side, and now he's got this organization called Gentle Mates who are also mega, right? And I don't think it's worth underestimating the size of organizations like Carmine Corp and like Gentle Mates in the French scene. And look, we have talented French and French-speaking players. HyDra, Linz, Abuza, French-speaking Belgian. So there's a few reasons to believe why, in my personal opinion, this is the way that I want the league to go. I would love to have Heretics, but not based in Miami for some reason. They're based there. You know, they should be based in Madrid. If they can be based anywhere, you know, my opinions, I don't want them to be based anywhere, but whatever. Like, I like the fact that we have a Spanish team. I like the fact that we have a Saudi team. And I would love to have, not exactly a French team precisely, but at least a French organization with some representation from that region would be cool. Like, that's the world I want to live in, where that's what the league looks like. Is it best for the league in the immediate term? Maybe not. But also, Gentle Mates, they were represented by Bant and Harry and Denzer and those guys at the World Cup, and they did a very commendable job. They knocked out G2, of course, from the event in the end. And Gataga was live streaming those games, unlucky ace, to 50,000+ viewers on his own. Like, he was streaming Gentle Mates versus G2 to 55,000 viewers on his own stream. Scump got to 70k, but that was for like the big OpTic games, and Gataga wasn't even streaming them. So like, the scale of the potential interest, if this was to happen, would be a big deal. And I don't think there's many people in the community that would say no to Gentle Mates acquiring the Gorillas spots, to be honest.
No, oh, go ahead, Trey. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'll finish off the point.
Okay, my whole thing is it would be massive if the French could come in like that, and someone like Otaga comes in. We have Scump obviously as a big, you know, the biggest streamer we have, bigger than the CDL stream itself. But having a secondary influence of that size in a different region is exactly what COD needs at this time to keep it growing and get some new fans and get some attention back on the CDL.
I mean, the French fans are just huge. Like, you think Spanish fans are crazy. You think UK fans are crazy. I think the French top it. Seriously. Like, and
EWC's back in the day.
like Gataga, I don't think like a lot of new people won't know about Gataga, but this guy was, you know, this guy is the French scump. Like if you're talking like COD terms and numbers wise, he is the French scump. It's insane how much, you know, exposure the COD will get if, well, for one, if it goes back to Twitch because he streams on Twitch. But you know, we got Scump streaming OpTic games, Gataga streaming those games. Hopefully, one of the big Heretics owners, you know, because they're big content creators too, come out and stream their games. And then you will see how much power like European streamers actually do have. Now it's a shame we don't have, you know, a UK like juggernaut like that in the league. You know, we lost that with London, and we didn't particularly, you know, get anything from that. But it's nice to see Europe, you know, going to get that love if, you know, Gentlemates do acquire the spot.
Yeah, massive. I think we need to get as much. Now we have Saudi. We're gonna have Saudi streamers, French, Spanish, American with Scump. Bro, I'll be honest. The Call of Duty scene, the Call of Duty multiplayer competitive scene, is honestly growing outside the U.S. So we need to attract as much of that scene as possible, because we're losing the COD scene here to Warzone. Just factually, 100%, no doubt.
Yeah, Harrison's saying how we said this about Heretics last offseason that turned out to be crap. I mean, I don't think that's fully fair. I also think it depends on which creators are involved, because when London were bought out by Wrecked Global, KOI or whatever, and eBuy was involved, of course, massive Spanish streamer. You know, there was theories about, okay, would they rebrand that team to be Spanish, and then eBuy is going to start watch partying the games? Because if that's the case, then it's a very different story, right? And Gataga will watch party the Gentlemates games and support that team on a great level. So I feel like it is a different story. Like,
I think that's not a fair assessment. Like, we saying ideally what the team should have done, and I think everyone can agree that is what they should have done. Them not doing it is a fucking troll. So we're not wrong in the points we made last season. We were hopeful and idealistic in the sense that this is what should happen, and they didn't do it. And yeah, that's their loss, not really ours. We're putting forth the best foot of what that Spanish team could have done and the free content they were getting off Heretics playing now in the league. So more of a troll of them, not a troll of us.
Yeah, good point, I guess, about, like, would he stream it on YouTube or whatever, right? Because if the YouTube deal is still there, would he go... I mean, I think he probably would at least try and make it work.
Yeah, for sure. I just think Twitch for streamers is just better than YouTube. Like, for actual streamers.
Yeah,
I see my name twice. I see my name twice in Tom Cena 7. Can somebody translate what that means? Because I see Ace and Ace. I don't know what he's trying to say, though.
I mean, Ace has... A reason, I'm guessing, is like reason, but I don't know if that actually means that. Because Ace has always... reason. I basically like you a lot, love you a lot.
Okay, all right, Tom Cena.
It actually is what it would be. I like it well. Basically,
Okay,
Ace is yapping. I like it a lot. Ace is always right.
Ace is always right.
Ace is always right. Yeah, very nice, very nice.
That's Trey though, but I
Good work,
appreciate it,
Tom
Tom.
Cena,
That's
7.
Trey is actually Trey's thing, but not my. I appreciate it though. Love you, brother.
It is Trey's thing. He's trying to recoup some love for next season. That's what he's trying to do. Always right. He's coming back.
Merch there he is.
Merch on the way.
He's always right. Yeah, this guy's cooked.
Fucking hell.
Okay.
Fucking
let's move on. We've got to talk about.
Here it goes.
We're rich and all the OpTic boys now. They've lost all their cash. The money is gone. Unfortunately for lots of the OpTic guys, they're getting let go. You know, people working with the events teams and everything. Here they are at the World Championship. You know, we were there. City of Tech, whatever they called it. Credit Union of Texas Arena or whatever. And lots of the guys that worked with the events team over at OpTic, gone, let go, looking for their next adventures. And now the rumor is the pay cuts are coming through. So EasyMac actually talked about this. I should go and find EasyMac's kind of tweets about it here in a second. Or we put some stuff on Reddit saying how this has been the case across multiple teams. And it's kind of been a known thing that even the likes of FaZe over the last few years have been asked to take pay cuts effectively in order to keep their roster together because they don't have the cash to support it. But this is a bit of a surprise, probably still, given OpTic's situation. The fact that they just won champs. EWC came and gone, and of course they made a bit of money for that as well. So, but every organization, it is esports at the end of the day.
Unfortunately.
I'm gonna throw this to Trey just because Trey knows, he's CDL, he's done contracts and all that. Trey, what's your opinion on this? I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Unfortunately, and I've said this for so long, congratulations to everyone that got the bag when they did. I was a part of one of those people that got the bag when we did. COD did not deserve the bag for salary players. The game is huge. The esport is not big enough to sustain the high salaries that people have. It's impossible. That, like I said, I've said this multiple times in my stream. Like, ever since I retired, I said I'd be very truthful. People ask me how much I was making when I was on New York. Motherfucker, I was making like 18 to 20 grand a month on New York for me. You know what I'm saying? That just wasn't sustainable. Especially with how, like, the viewers, the sponsorships that came in, everything like that. It just was not, like, it was not realistic. This to me probably should have happened like 3 years ago, maybe, because we're pulling up. You look at, let's say, like the two bottom teams in the league, they play against each other in the league. You're looking at 12,000 viewers minimum. Like, and then maybe like 15K maximum. And if Scump's not watch party in it, then fuck. The money that players are getting just it isn't right, and it is very, very, like, out of this world. Unfortunately, that's just how it works with, like, supply and demand of people wanting players, and to keep a player, you've got to pay him to keep him happy. But it's insane. I think Aches kind of ruined it too when he got the big contract on LAG in year one, and just got on the bench, kicked off straight on the bench, whatever like that, and just got paid like 300K for the year. It's insane. So this was coming. People shouldn't be surprised. Like I said, you've just seen Miles been released. Like, pay cuts are coming in. We're cutting people out. Like, it's gonna get way worse before anything gets better. That's just how the esports scene is.
Yeah, I won't say I'm shocked. I'll say OpTic does spend a lot of money on content. They have a lot of people, staff that work for them and make their operations smooth. So, as long as OpTic, I think OpTic as an organization has tried their very best to keep players happy, keep staff happy, keep people along as long as they can. And they're probably one of the last organizations to announce any sort of cuts, pay cuts, staff layoffs, and all that. So I commend OpTic for just like the amount of time they've tried to keep the operation together and done so. I'm also just generally, I know Trey just mentioned like pay cuts had to happen, all that. I'm not a fan of discussing like the pay cuts and wanting player salaries to go down, whether realistic or not. I think it's sad to see that players are getting their pay cuts and people's salaries are coming down. But am I shocked? No. Am I gonna say that, oh, this should happen, or people should lose money, or people's contracts need to come down? No, I'm not really an advocate for that. I want salaries to go up. I want people to make more money, and that's more what I'm after 100% of the time.
I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, go on, Trey.
For sure. But like, there was a segment that Octane was saying that the top players are in the region are getting paid $500,000 to 700,000. Congratulations. But realistically, is COD there for an esport? Is there any return of investment on that? Let's be honest.
I mean,
absolutely not.
There's not a clue. Unless the Saudis are bailing you out.
There's no return of investment on that, and that's why everyone knows it. Like, that's why you see some of these teams like Ultra. They just, what they're saying is, I mean, the owner came out and said it. We just can't do it.
Yeah,
it's just we just can't do it. Like, it's just not sustainable. Like, it's impossible to keep it running, and everyone in esports doesn't understand, or like the viewers don't really understand. They think it's just like a normal job where people like go to work, go scrim, that's this, or like the, I don't want to say like, the morons, let's just say, they all think like, no, esports is great. It's it. All right, esports is not in a great space money-wise. Let's be honest. Like, we all know this. Us three here, we know this. It's trying to get better. listen, the Saudis need to save us.
I mean, you are basically right. Like, the issue is that in 2018 to probably 2021, 2022, the esport was massively propped up by a load of venture capital money that came flooding in. Now those people want their cash back. They got burned a little bit. And now the only guys with any money they want to put into esports are basically the Saudis, right? So that's kind of where we are. And it's an interesting time with the esport. As you say, though, like, even if you run the numbers, like, the rumor had it that Boston were trying to pay Envoy 400k last year to come to Boston. And he said no and went to Toronto instead. So if that was true, it's not like Toronto are paying him 85, you know what I mean? Because obviously then he's going to take the Boston offer. So it would have to be something respectable from Toronto. And equally, if you're Boston, you're paying Envoy that. Well, was Slasher getting paid? Was Priester getting paid? Like, these other questions. And, you know, you got to think about from an organization's perspective. And I think often the players maybe don't see this a little bit, or the fans don't see this, that if you're an org and you're paying 300 grand a year on a player salary, and you've got to potentially house them and accommodate them and deal with travel and expenses all to the events, then it adds up pretty rapidly. Like, you've got a serious burn rate year on year. And how do we accommodate for that? Well, in regular sports, maybe I'd sell tickets to stuff, but I don't really work in esports. I can run my own event, but because I'm hiring a massive venue for a weekend rather than having it all time, maybe breaking even, maybe making a bit of cash, but probably nothing special about that. I can have some sponsorships and some partners, but like, those sponsorship deals, they can't conflict with the league sponsors, first of all, so you can't even advertise in certain domains, which is one of the reasons why the teams are frustrated with the model. They want some serious changes, which I think are going to happen on some level. But, you know, you might get a sponsorship deal with a big company. They might pay you 100 grand, 150 grand or whatever to, you know, for a big sponsor deal if you get one. That covers a sixth, an eighth of your salary cost for the year, potentially. So then you get the YouTube deal, which is propping up some of these teams, probably a few 100k in there that can prop up some of the salaries involved. But, you know, you do the numbers, it just don't, the maths don't math. And that's the problem that the teams are currently dealing with and have always dealt with in esports. One of the solutions is to take some of the prize winnings out of the equation. And I think some teams do, maybe they'll take travel and expenses out or whatever. But they don't want to take a lot because it feels bad. You don't want to take the money away from the players. The players don't want to join if they're going to get their prize earnings slashed. You know, I get it. But equally, the orgs have to survive, right? So, yeah, it's a tough time.
Bro, the orgs got to take a bigger prize cut because most orgs take like 10%, like 10%. The players getting 90. Yeah, 10 to 20. Majority are closer to the 10 range. So it's kind of, it's like, you got to make it make sense for your org as well. Honestly, this is the only thing I will say that is against, I guess, the player angle that I'm usually in. That prize cut should be like 70, 30, 60, 40, considering players don't want to agree to that, but realistically, just do it. Like we said, if we're talking numbers, we're paying for your travel, your housing, your this, your, you know, stipend to eat while you're at those events, and X, Y, and Z. The org has to get some kickback from the success of the team that they're sending to these events. It has to make some sort of sense. The other thing we know is that Legion, for example, they were profitable last year, right? They were profitable last year. So we know if we can approximate how much players the org is making just at a standard level, they're making around, let's say, 300 grand. And I'm not sure if that's from the YouTube deal or exactly from what, but they're making around 300 grand. So they have that pretty much set. Paris doesn't really make content. I don't know how many jersey sales they're getting. So that YouTube deal is cutting each team at least 300 grand. So let's not act like people aren't making any money. It's up to orgs, you know, as much as we talk about the player responsibility, that they must go down and their salaries just have to come down, whatever that conversation is. It's also up to the teams as well to push some reason for people to buy jerseys, buy merch, put out good merch, make some content, make some videos, sell some sponsorships, even though it's a little difficult. As far as I know, that sponsorship restriction is going to loosen up in the coming years. So there's a big opportunity here. If you make content, pick up the right players that market well, will sell you jerseys, will sell you numbers, viewers, that in the coming years, you're making at least 300 grand just from the YouTube deal. We should see profitability rise if teams adjust accordingly as well. Back to Patrick Ake's Price's point, these organizations are run by morons. That's ultimately a biggest problem at the end of the day, is that from the upstart, from the beginning, from the inception, ran by morons, and even till today, now we still have at 80% of the league run by morons in a few that aren't. So that's the unfortunate truth about the whole scenario when you look at it, like taking a step back and looking at it wide view angle.
I mean, if someone said to me, Trey, we're gonna pay you $500,000, but you got to pay for your housing, and we want 40% of the prize money, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
That's my point.
Or if they said, you know, we'll pay you 400,000, we'll pay for your housing, but we want 60% of your prize money. Fuck yeah. That's for you know, like, you're still making good fucking money, and you're allowing the org to make some back, because you should be performing whilst making that much money.
Yes, we're giving you this guarantee essentially to practice, to scrim, to be locked in, to focus up, to be content and happy. But when you go to these organizations, when you go to these events under these organizations, you're performing for them. That return from those events should honestly be more in favor of the org that has contracted these players to go there. That is how it logically makes sense. But for some reason, it's like there's no benefit for the org. Like, I could play a guy 300,000. I get 10% of the prize money. So let's say they make 50,000 for an event. I get $5,000 on a 300,000 or plus, because housing and travel, on a $350,000 investment. I get a $5,000 return. I might as well find a bridge and look down, because that's the fucking end of my life. What are you talking about? Make it make sense.
I mean, that's my thing, you know, it's like, all right, let's just speak, like, you know, before we go into the next topic, let's just use OpTic for an example. Let's say every single player on there is getting paid 500K. All right. That's 2 million in just salaries alone. And then you got flights and accommodation for the events. And then they win champs. You know, they win champs. That's, you know, how much is that? Like 150K each?
Yeah.
200K each, whatever like that. Let's say OpTic take 10%. So, you know, they'll make round about, you know,
60,
what's that?
60 grand.
60K on them winning champs from a $2 million investment on salary.
That's awful, bro. That is disgusting investment numbers. At least if you give them, you know, you pay these players exorbitant salary, but you're, as an org, you make back 40% or 30%. Yeah, okay, they won champs, 600,000. The org takes home 180, maybe 240. Players split the rest, and they have their salaries that are, you know, not guaranteed per the contract term guaranteed, but guaranteed because they've been playing the whole year. They got that money already. That's pretty dandy to me, bro. That sounds good to me. That seems very reasonable to me. Maybe I'm faded though. Maybe I don't know contracts. Maybe I don't know business. Maybe I'm just tarded. You know, maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things to add to that, really, because if you're OpTic and you're an OpTic player, you're going to be fine, right? Because you get the opportunity. It's like, as Harrison says in the chat, I play for OpTic for free. Because, okay, I mean, they probably have to pay you something, contract law, whatever. But, you know, ideally, you can play there, you can stream, you can reap all the rewards, and you'll be fine. So it's not the end of the world. But clearly, Thieves... And obviously, we're going to talk about Thieves and what they might be paying here in a second. But they bit the bullet big time. I think it was difficult for Nadeshot to admit, after that team blew it up, that realistically bringing on Insight Kleenex, trying to form a really competitive team at the start of last year, was not financially feasible. And it's painful for big organizations to do that, right? Like, OpTic can't just really say... all right, guys, we're going to take a rebuild year. We're going to drop the salaries to below 100K, and we're going to grind back up with some challenger players. That's not how it works. Like, OpTic have to be one of the teams with the best rosters. And as a result, they have to deal with the market rates for some of those players. And the market rates are pretty damn high. But if it's OpTic, you'd think it'd be okay. Obviously, we know that they partnered with NRG, didn't end especially well. They partnered with Envy, as it is now, and Envy is basically no longer existing as a result of that whole situation. So I hope to God that the same shit don't happen again. But the thing is, they're running out of partners, right? At this point, it's the Saudis or bust, basically, in terms of someone who's going to drop the bailout. But
the bailout for OpTic or the CDL? What
yeah, the OpTic,
clarify that.
the OpTic bailout. If they need the cash, honestly, if Hex needs some extra money, he's got to call up Scump, bro. He's got to be like, look, Seth, I need some of that streamer cash. Like, can you give me a loan? Small loan of a few $1 million. Like, please, Seth.
Small loan of $10 million. Maybe it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Come
exactly,
on, bring it in.
So, like, if you're OpTic, it's just a difficult situation because Thieves, given where they were and what they were doing over the last couple of years, they really didn't want to have to do what they did, which is, have a rebuild year. But for Thieves, it looks like it's going to work out absolutely sensationally because of the timing they've got, being able to get some of the players they have at a discount, right? Toronto are selling at a discount, Cloud9 are potentially selling at a discount, and that's where Thieves have been able to capitalize. But, this is the case for other organizations as well. It's not just OpTic that are needing players to take a pay cut. It is what it is. And if it helps the league be sustainable, so OpTic aren't going bust, then, I guess it's for the positive.
The only addition I'll make to your point is that you say Saudi needs to bail out OpTic.
I'm saying that I'm saying if the time comes.
Yeah. I'm saying Saudi needs to bail out the CDL. Okay. I'm thinking on a broader scale. Saudi needs to support the ecosystem so that, international fans actually watch COD, French fans watch COD, Spanish fans watch COD. We need to. I think CDL, per direction, if we look at it, not hindsight, we look at forward direction, foresight, it's going to end up becoming more of an international game rather than a United States NA-based game. I think we're going to lose a lot of influence internationally very soon. Just because Saudis clearly have way more interest in COD than most American fans do. American fans like Warzone way more.
That's an interesting point, and people are saying in the chat as well, like as Sackman is great says, that FaZe and 100 Thieves, among others like Cloud9 and G2 and stuff, they're part of that EWC foundation, right? Which means that they're in the club, as it were. So they get some degree of support and whatever. And again, that's the tricky position that OpTic are in, is that they have COD, they have Halo. And yes, of course, they were invited to the World Cup, but they didn't, they weren't a partnered team, as it were, and therefore they don't have those type of benefits. So, but then again, Hex and Scump were out there presenting the esports awards, so, I'm sure there's something in it.
Yeah. Do you think Falcons host a major this year? No. They're going to host EWC. That's going to be their big thing.
Man, that'd be crazy, though, huh?
If they do another one, I'm here. Hey.
Get me back to the fair one, baby. Look at it. Yeah.
Put me back on the plane. I'll take the 20-hour flight. No problem. I'll be there. I'll be there in fucking a day. No problem.
Get me in the fucking fair, man.
Yeah, get me back in that gym, Trey.
Oh my.
Ever since I've been back, the amount of people like I've shown the pictures and the videos of like the gym and the pool and shit. It's like.
I mean, I listen. I don't have any friends home, Rab, so I just show myself.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. We're matching again today too. Me and you, we're matching again.
Why am I not surprised?
Black, you know what I'm saying? I think Ace forgot the memo.
My guy.
Once again.
always.
The one day I'm not all black is that you guys decide to switch it up. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Coordinated.
That's how we do it.
That's what it is, bro.
All right, let's get into some roster juice because...
Okay, this is what everyone came to see, baby.
It's what everyone came to see, baby. So everyone came to see. Now, look, I don't really want to talk on this one too quick. This is just kind of funny, to be fair. But I did want to get into a bit of the whole, the Sib beef, right? So obviously we saw Sib was let go. We saw the drama talking about 9 to 9, respect to the... He basically backed down, didn't he, right? Because he was saying that they were having to get up at the crack of dawn. Anyway, Sib's been dropped, basically. He's been benched from the team. He obviously wasn't happy about it immediately after the fact. There are questions as to why, precisely. and exactly what the hell Cloud9 are cooking right now. So their team is currently Sky's Kismet. HyDra is almost certainly gone, as we'll see evidence from Jack Etienne implying in a second. Sib is benched, and there's even rumours that Sender might be gone along with HyDra going on to Thieves. That was a rumour as well, which I don't know if that's going to be true or not. But let's just break this down real quick. So you talked about it, obviously, Trey, at the World Cup, literally one day after the World Cup, talking about conversations that, you know, were had behind the scenes with Cloud9. The fact that their team, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows over there. Things were going to have to give. Sib was potentially the odd man out. To my understanding, HyDra ain't got a problem with him, really. It was more his AR duo, potentially. Maybe the coaching situation. I don't know. It's an interesting one. But it does look like Cloud9 are effectively going to start next season without their two best players, which is actually quite impressive.
I mean, I did tell you. I did say Sib was going to get dropped, and they said, nah, they'd be fun. Nah. I told you it was going to happen.
Ace is still sitting here saying they're fucking faded. Ace is still sitting here saying that, so continue.
No, you said I was faded.
Oh, I said you're faded because I can't imagine they would be that faded. But like, I was wrong. I'll take this one on the chin, no problem.
I mean, it's kind of funny that I said that because the reason I said that is because I spoke to Sib.
yeah.
I spoke to Sib. He didn't tell me anything was going to happen like that with them, but like from what he was telling me, like it just sounded like that's the way it was going to go. You know, it just sounds to me like, you know, he joined the team and he was just going to be the odd one out again. It's the same with me on subliners. You know, we got the European coming into an All-American team. Yeah, if we get fucking shit on, it's got to be that English-speaking fuck.
English speaking.
I think it works the same with Sib. He's not like any of those other players. Personality wise and just in general, he's not like those players. So when things start happening in game, it could probably lead to out of game stuff, and then, you know, they probably have arguments and everything like that.
They're jealous of his Corvette. That's my opinion.
I think so. I think they're jealous of his good looks and his aura.
Yep.
And that's why, and even the owner Jack, I think he's a little bit pressed by the fact that he's got, yeah. But no, seriously, I don't know what's going on over there. I think we all kind of saw this coming though, in terms of they re-signed all the players. There's a reason they re-signed all the players, because they want to sell these players.
Yeah,
we saw it with Cloud9, and you know, when they came in, they had like the best Valorant player. They just said, "Oh, we're not paying you that much money. You can fuck off." And I think they knew what they were doing when they knew they could re-sign HyDra for another year, but plans to get rid of him.
If we think about this deeply, you know, I'm gonna throw it back to you guys, but I'm gonna ask a question first to you guys and kind of give the rest of my point. But do we think C9 here is doing this because, again, of instead of pay cuts and such, they realize they can't afford this roster? Or do we assume that it's more because of the roster itself, the issues with them, that they're breaking this apart? What do we think there?
Well, let's see what the CEO has to say. Because obviously he's going to give his take. And this is the type of stuff that he's had to say on the Reddit over the last couple of days. So, obviously, as we know, he said that he was going to re-sign the team, which is what they did. But Trey's exactly right of their history in Valorant and League and other games of, you know, having some great players and selling them off and making a bag, or, you know, fair play, trying to be financially responsible. But what Jack is saying here is that he bought the roster, and after the World Cup, his expectation was that they were going to run it back, right? They were going to keep the same roster. They'd just done pretty well on the year, second at Champs. They were first last year. But, you know, I also think that's just a relatively major misunderstanding of how esports and especially Call of Duty works. Like, if you buy a team that's just come second at Champs, to be fair, they won the event before, but the rest of the year they've been pretty shoddy. The chances of that team staying the same are less than 50%. Absolutely, for sure. Because at the World Cup, their chances of winning are pretty low. And if they lose the World Cup, especially if they don't do so well and it's single elim, their chances of blowing it up are very high. So, you know, in my eyes, I don't think Jack can be surprised that he's bought this team and they want to make a change. Like, that should be expected. Most teams want to make a change. So
you can't come into COD expecting you're going to keep the same roster that you just bought. I'm going to be real with you. Unless they win. You know, you could, even if you win, you fucking New York, you still drop a player.
exactly, they've done that shit before. This is what he says. I understand why you're
And we'll
upset.
do it again.
Yeah, I signed up to
Do
get
it
a
again.
world-class roster and was shocked to have a situation where it wasn't possible to keep it without forcing them to stay in a situation they weren't happy with. He also said this, I could force a player to stay under contract and play with players he is unhappy with, but that is not how I operate. I wonder who he might be talking about there. And then he said,
Well,
obviously, first move was to fully run it back, support the players, whatever.
Who do you think that is? You think that's Dante? You think that's HyDra? Who do you think that is?
I mean, what are you going to say, Trey? Like,
Well, you know, it's good. You know, obviously, there's two players not happy with Sib, and I think HyDra's just not happy with his sub duo.
exactly, yeah. It's obviously HyDra. Like, there's no other explanation it can be.
Bro, HyDra's obviously sat there and thought, you know what? I could stay here, and you know we can try and buy out players, or I can just leave. I'll try and get sold, and that's what he's done. He heard he could get with Scrap on 100 Thieves. He thought, I don't hate Sib. I like Sib, but I can play with Scrap on 100 Thieves. Fuck yeah, get me over there. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
And he also knows he's also more confident in playing with Envoy, who he said he was going to go team with after EWC anyway, because they're all smart as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Crazy how
And
that
that's
works,
what
isn't it, Trey?
you know, end of the day, you know, everyone sat there saying, you know, HyDra's not going to move, Scrap ain't going to move. Guess who said they were going to move? Me. I did say it, said it. I did. You know, always fucking right. Sick of it. It's getting a joke now. Listen, when a player wants to leave, he wants to leave. All right. Orgs are going to facilitate that, especially when they're on so much fucking money. They ain't going to pay someone to sit there on that much money and not be happy with a roster. They're just going to
Because
save
you're not
the
going to
money.
get the best version of the player anyway, so you might as well just let him go.
Exactly.
Especially if you can sell him. So, like, this is the point, and I do find it pretty funny in hindsight, because I feel like in many ways this is pretty obvious. And from the early part after EWC, it's like, even after Champs, I mean, we were talking about, well, you know, should Scrap and HyDra try and team up? I talked about it the day after EWC on that show. We clipped it up. Scrappy ran into me in the airport, and he was roasting me for my take, and he was basically saying, like, because I made a point about they wouldn't be able to beat OpTic and FaZe and all this. And to be fair to Scrappy, he made a good point to me in the airport. And he said, look, we're beating FaZe every time we played them this year on LAN, which is true. So, you know, fair play. Toronto did have FaZe's number on LAN at times. But in terms of consistent championship success, FaZe are here, OpTic are here, Toronto are further down, no doubt about it. So, you know, it's just funny in hindsight because Scrappy was kind of like shutting down my point and saying, oh, like, that's BS. And then, you know, look where we are a couple of months, like a month or so down the line. And he's, you know, left his team to go on a team with HyDra. So, yeah, who's right in the end? I love Scrap, though, so, like, I'm not trying to roast him. I just thought it was quite funny how it turns out that, you know, guess who's right? It's the Dope Check boys. Again, no surprise. At least if this happens.
C9 is, I don't know, man. C9 just, like, look at the pieces you're keeping. You're keeping your two weakest links and allowing them to stay on your team, and I don't know, man. I don't understand some of these. I get players not being happy, but sometimes respectfully, I don't care about your happiness. We'll keep one of you will sell, one you're gonna keep. You're gonna drop your second best player as well for the. None of it makes sense. I'll be honest. None of this makes sense. C9, none of this.
They won't be able to get the players.
Who you talking about?
C9 won't be able to afford the players that HyDra wants to play with.
No, I said let HyDra go. Okay, you lost one of your best players. Now you have to build around your second best player, not go with the two who are costing you all year and run with their opinions.
I mean, in my opinion, they should have, you know, I think, because is Sib still on the contract, right?
They could bring him back.
He's restricted. Yeah, he's restricted.
The Skies probably don't like him. So
No. Listen, you just got to keep Sib at this point. You can't let Sib go.
I actually
That's what I'm trying to say.
I agree with that take. I think
you can't. Listen, you've got, you know, you've got a top 5 AR. Let's just say that you got a top 5 AR because, you know, that's where I'm gonna rank him. You got a top 5 AR, just sat on the bench. If you let him go, you know, I truly feel like you're making a huge mistake. Now, Skies and Kismet probably don't want to play with him. So then you got to choose whether you keep Sib and build around Sib or you build around Skies and Kismet.
Respectfully, Sky and Kiz, fuck off, mate. We got Sib here who's actually putting in some work this year. Let's build around him. Also, keep this in consideration as well. depending on what C9 will put money up for, of course, if they're offering 250, 300,000 to somebody, they'll come there for sure. But if you're a player and you're offered to play with Dante, Sib, if you don't know, if you're offered to play with Sib or offered to play with Skies and Kismet, who are you more likely to go to? What's more of an even him alone is a more attractive piece to build around than these two, who again, all year had moments of costing their team. So I don't know. I think C9, if you guys want to prove, if you guys want to not fall into the silly organization stereotype that we have about CDL orgs, please make the right decision here and build around Dante, not around your other two pieces that people aren't trying to play with.
I think it's a good point, right? So I'll throw this question, I guess, out there. Let's say Cloud9, all they can get, I wouldn't say average players, but the players that they can get now are the players that are kind of like in the top 20, top 25 player in the world category. We're talking, maybe they could get Joe DeCeves, or maybe they could get Nasty, or, these type of guys, right? Off the former Los Angeles Thieves. These are the type of players that they can get. Is it better to keep Skies and Kiz and then 2 of those type of players? Or is it better to have Sib and then 3 of those type of players? Because I think I would take the latter.
The latter, you said Sib and the 3?
Yeah, I think I'd say Sib and the 3. I think it has more upside.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Even if we
you need
play
a
the little
star,
game of,
right? You need a star at the end of the day.
Yes, if you're gonna let's play the game a little bit. If we play like the little roster build game for that team, if I'm gonna add Dante, attach, you could go Nero or Joe DeCeves, and one more. I think that's a much better team, fresh, reasonable ceiling. You could probably also, not to downplay those players, but you could probably pay them less than what Skies and Kismet are probably on right now. So you'll save money for your organization as well with a higher ceiling and everyone being happy. So I'm more. Gwyn as well. Sorry, I think actually Gwyn is attached.
If you could get Gwyn,
Joe DeCeves, Sib. That's my 4.
You
Even
ain't.
Slasher as well.
Yeah,
you ain't getting Gwyn. Unfortunately, you ain't getting Gwyn.
Just some names out there, right? If you really consider the names that are out there that you could build upon with a good org like C9 with that support, I see no reason to keep Kiz and Skies. And that's, again, no disrespect to them. They're going to fall, into the teams that they will. Maybe Toronto maybe takes a look at one of them. Maybe. I know they're going to find a place somewhere on a roster. I'm not saying they're bad players, but if you're choosing between the two, it's very obvious who you want to build around and who you want to keep on your team. I think that should be crystal clear, 10 out of 10 right there in front of you.
No, I think I agree with this assessment. People are talking about Slasher, I think, for good reason as well. Like, I need to start running the Slasher propaganda arc again on my channel, to be fair. Because I do think he needs to... Cloud9 would actually be a great spot for him if they were to choose Sib over the other 2, because I think it probably is a scenario like that. Like, I don't think you're bringing Sib back, even if they lose HyDra, which we're pretty sure they will, and we'll get onto that in a second just to clarify. But I'm pretty sure you're not bringing Sib back alongside Skies and Kiz. That ain't happening. I think as far as chemistry goes, that's not happening. That's not an option.
You've got no hope of it working.
So, you have to go one route or the other. And that's what they got to decide. But it's difficult because if Sib doesn't go back there, then his options are pretty limited because he's not going to Toronto per our understanding. And also he requires a buyout, and there's not many organizations that are going to do that. So, but it's like Sib can't be stuck on the bench for the year. So that doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So something's got to give here, right? And also Estreal is gone as well. I mean, he's confirmed that the other day, 5 or so days ago, that his contract is going to expire. He's going to explore other opportunities, either as a head coach, GM, with various teams. And, I don't know what exactly the story is behind this, whether it's money related on some regards, but it could be like we've seen the same thing with FaZe, we'll get into in a second, organizations saying, we don't need 2 coaches, we can just do 1. And to be fair, as I said earlier, there's also rumors that Cinder might be on the way out to Thieves because they need another coach. If they are, if Thieves are spending the money they're spending, then they probably need to replace J-Cap with someone, even with Shane still there. So, yeah, I don't know what Cloud9 are cooking, but it ain't smelling good.
They're either cooking the best brownie fucking brookie I've ever smelled in my life, or they're cooking the biggest pile of shit I've ever seen in my life. It's one or the other. There's no in between.
I know which one it is.
I mean,
I sure hope so.
I'm quite hungry right now. That sounds kind of fire. I can't lie.
The Steven pile of shit.
The brookie sound. No BS. Brookie sound crazy right now. Wow.
Bro, like a fresh brookie right now. Be serious.
There's literally no HyDra replacement. Yeah, well, exactly. That is a good point. Where's accuracy coaching at, he says? Well, that's an interesting question too. We're going to get back to the Cloud9 stuff. Obviously, we're going to talk Toronto as well. We're going to talk about the Los Angeles Thieves. Just quickly on this from FaZe, X2Park_Thuglord, the greatest gamer tag in the history of the Call of Duty League, is gone from FaZe. One of the best search and destroy players ever. Abizi gave him his credit after the fact. It's always difficult, isn't it? Because like FaZe's record was 175 and 103. Pretty good. Actually not as good as I thought it was going to be, I'm not going to lie. But equally, like, with all due respect, is a team of Simpa, Beezy, Cell, etc. expected to have an S&D record of something like this? Probably, yeah, right? Let's be real. So, as good as I think he is at search. Yeah, I was thinking a bit better, right? So it's like, that's what I find kind of funny about this tweet is like, as much as I think he's a great search and destroy mind and has definitely helped their search and destroy in some regard, and obviously alongside Slasher, they did put together the greatest like search and destroy run ever last season. It's tough to say exactly how much impact he had, given that it's not like they were unbeatable at search. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. They were actually pretty beatable at search at one point as well. Like, they're one of those teams where you just couldn't rely on them for the S&Ds.
Damn, I didn't even read this. It's pissing me off. I will admit I am shocked by their sudden decision. Are we seeing this, chat? You know I always pick shit like this out of my videos. Wrong there. Focus up.
Hitting a grammar issue here?
Yeah. But, like, bro, this is an official free agency tweet. You can't be getting that wrong in an official free agents tweet. Like, that doesn't sound professional at all, no?
He is right. That is fact.
Here we go. Armino says, I'm at it again.
You don't put a typo on your resume or your CV. They're just gonna look at you and think, "Wow, this guy don't know shit."
You got to run Grammarly through that shit, man. You got to run. That
you got to know your theirs, theys, and theirs. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Now I'm looking for other ones. Let me lock in real quick.
No. I'm not sitting there running a show for 3 hours. Are you checking Grammarly?
We're not doing that. Realistically, though, I'm not. I think Tupac Thuglord could go to an organization, but I see why FaZe is trying to cut costs and everyone's trying to cut costs. I know he probably brings good spots to them. I know he definitely has opinions and strategies. I'm not going to discount the fact that Tupac is the greatest per numbers, per trophies. He is the greatest S&D player that COD knows. That's give him his flowers at every time possible. But these are things that players can find. These are things that come out on Twitter now at a way bigger scale than they used to. I don't know. I see FaZe's angle of we're paying this guy probably, some tens of thousands of dollars. We could save that. Every corner we have to cut right now counts. So, in my opinion, it makes sense why they would get rid of him. I hope him well. I wish him well. I hope he lands on a good team. LAT, maybe, if you need an S&D coach. Pay him a couple bucks. OpTic, Cloud9, if you still have some money, please pick him up. But it makes a lot of sense why FaZe would let him go, in my opinion.
I mean, he was on OpTic for a while, wasn't he? Go on, Trey.
What happened to the classic, FA for the 2025 season?
Hit me up if you try to win. Bang my line if you try to win.
Bang my DM.
Bang my DM.
Bang my DM.
I love those ones. Those are the best. They don't hit the same.
If you have my number, text me. If you don't, DM me for my number.
Yeah. No, I like in Valorant they still do the ones where it's like free agent, open to any role, like,
Discord.
Yeah. Link the Discord. Grinder, looking to win, like, no days off type of
or they get dropped and it's like FA got the fire again.
Yeah.
I'm not making 250 grand a year and you didn't have the fire.
Oh, there's so many like this in COD.
Decided not to have the fire for 6 months. Like,
Yeah, we just turned the fire off, but we don't worry. Like, running on embers for the last 6 months.
Legit, bro. Oh my god.
Let's
So
get
yeah,
to the super
Two
team,
Broke
bro.
does a big one. No, bro. We got to chill. We're only an hour and a half in. Come on, let's take our time. So where's Tupac gonna go? Should OpTic bring him back? This is my last question here, just because like obviously he was on there briefly. He was on the Chicago Huntsman back in the day. They got rid of him kind of controversially.
Harrison said FA got fired again.
Unfortunately, that is basically what it is, isn't it?
FA just got the sack.
Oh, we gotta move on. We gotta move on. Shout out my boy. Phoenix as well. It just made me think of Phoenix. To be fair, he hasn't. How many times has he been FA? Just got fired again. What, like three times now? 2-3 times.
Just got the sack once again. 4th year running.
Bang my line if you're trying to win, though.
Bang my line. Got the fire.
You guys are morons, bro. You guys are so dumb.
Oh, let's go.
Realistically, going back to your question, I do think he should. I think OpTic should pay him, maybe not salaried, like he shouldn't be on there all year, but they should definitely inquire with him as the game's coming out to like, before an event, maybe pay him a few dollars and get him to like spruce up their S&D, add in the hints and tips and tricks so that he knows, kind of correct them. I think that's the extent I could see OpTic using him, but OpTic just cut costs massively, so I'm not so sure they're trying to add multiple coaches and such onto their staff right now. I don't kind of see what's happening there. Or that happening there.
I hear that too. Okay.
You know what? I actually feel sorry for Breszy because I don't think he's like a sought after name for any team, but he should be on a team. He actually done pretty well for them this season, respectfully.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I think this is where people are saying, like, let's say, hypothetically, Gentle Mates do get that Gorillas spot. Like, they're probably going to they're going to want some French player. Linz, it seems like, is locked into G2. HyDra's probably locked into Cloud9. Abuzer's locked into Surge. So Breszy is available. You could get him. So that would be interesting. Obviously, he speaks English. Like, did a good job for the team for sure. There's people in the chat saying good role player. So it's a difficult one because any player in that position, they're going to try and upgrade. But
I'll hold my hands up as well. I was wrong. I said this would be a terrible player for their team. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. They actually made them better.
What did I say? Locked to C9? My bad. Locked to
wrong.
Thieves. Train wrong often. But the question for me is the Huke thing, right? Because we're going to talk about the rumours about this team in a second, about the whole nasty and Hicksy rumours or like some other names like that. I feel like there's not many players that you can bring in instead of Huke that are going to be better than what he can do, especially on a game like Black Ops 6, right? It's clearly going to be a movement-heavy game, clearly going to be a fast-paced game. Huke's the type of guy that I think I want on my team. Yes, there's going to be loads of inconsistency. The only explanation I can come up with is that Rambo has just had enough. Like, he's just fed up with this guy. After coaching him for a couple of years, he's just like, I can't take any more of this. That's the only explanation I can come up with. Because I just don't see where you go if you're Surge to get a better player than Huke, really.
I got one. I got an explanation for you. I think it goes back into cost saving. A name like Huke is probably going to demand a bigger salary than a name like, I don't know, one of these French players or some Challengers players. Even like, I'm going to throw, not this exact name, but even who do you think is going to demand a bigger salary? Exceed or Huke? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there's, again, cost savings across the board. I think there's people with Huke's, I won't say his level of talent, but I'll say Huke's level of inconsistency. And when he reaches that peak talent that we know he can get to, I'd rather pick a guy I'm paying less for, who's more consistent game to game, than take Huke and have to pay him a lot more for the inconsistency problems that he had this year. And has been an issue multiple years running.
Yeah, I mean, also, they ain't trying to get a bag for him. Like, they're just letting him go as a UFA. Like, if they think they think Huke's some crazy valuable player that have asked for a buyout. So I'm just like, I don't know. I think they've just decided they can do better. Maybe they feel like they can do a better team culture. But Surge were kind of nice at the end of the year. I think they've probably built around the two correct players. Like Ofa and Abuza were their two most impressive players at the end of the year. But still, on a game like this, I don't hate the idea of keeping even, one or both of these guys around. But they're going to try and make progress, and we'll get to that in a second. But of course,
I can see a world, respectfully, I can see a world where Breszy comes back to this team, like no BS. Like I can find a world where Abuza in 04, like let's explore our options, let's look at some guys. We if we can get them on our team, let's get them. But I do see a world, whether it's during the offseason or quickly into the season that comes up, somebody's underperforming. Breszy maybe doesn't get a slot, and he comes right back on the team because Breszy was ridiculously reliable when you needed him to be. Like he was the guy who, no matter what, was always doing what he needed to do, making the right play. And when he was in a 1v1 or needed to step up in a moment of control or something, he was there and he was showing out. He was a reliable player all around. So I actually aware where we can see him back on the team. Just when, I'm not sure. But I don't know who else they can get. I'm kind of on that same board rap that you were. Like, who else can they get? I can think of some names, but there is a chance that those fizzle out or don't pan out the way that they expect them to. Because they would be risks, not like 04, not like Abuza.
Yeah, people in the chat are talking about a number of players here. It's kind of interesting because like Nero's an option for sure. It's always got to consider who he's going to best partner with. Obviously, Cloud9 could think about it. The point, I guess, Ready Player One that Ace is making is that Brezy's been released as a UFA, but realistically, he's not going to get signed to another pro team, at least not quickly. So if Surge do decide that they want him back, then they could still get him. Yeah, that's what's happening in the chat. Is
also,
yeah, go on.
Also, I was just saying the Nero shot is a good one. If I was gonna replace Huke with a player similar in play style, I guess, but a bit more consistent, I think Nero is like the perfect shout. In recent CODs, he's been a bit better. This last year, he had a great year overall. I think it would make a lot of sense that if you wanted a player like Huke with just a bit more improvement, Nero would be a really good name to bring along with those guys.
Yeah, we'll get on to Nasty in a second and what the Surge are cooking up, but let's just kind of break down and go through what's going on here with this Toronto Ultra stuff. Via's in the chat, actually. Gorilla's coach. Do you think any of my boys from last season are getting another spot?
Wait, actually, yeah. Where's Estreal?
Let's talk about Estreal real quick. I think for the other guys...
I forgot about him. What the hell?
Obviously, Flames, unfortunately for him, he didn't get his shot to even go to the World Cup just because of how things played out with the org, which was tough. So I think it's going to be difficult for him. Obviously, DC and Fame, like they had their moments. But I think Estreal is probably the most likely. Just because now there's fewer spots, right? I mean, Miami is still Miami. Vegas and now the Falcons. Let's talk about gentlemates and stuff like this. So there's fewer spots than there were before on some level. I think Estreal's an interesting option, but again, Estreal's not going to come in necessarily to be like a slayer on a team. But
well,
I don't know.
This is my point. Yeah, it's like this is like the weirdest off season ever where we haven't heard about the smaller teams making any moves properly. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not been like, usually it's just like pow, 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 change here, change here, change here. But it's been, in my opinion, and bear in mind, I have not been on Twitter. All right, you can go check my post. The post I've done today is like the first post I've made in like 3 weeks or so. Or like 2 weeks. So I haven't even been looking at it. But has this not been like the slowest off season in terms of like looking at people's roster changes and stuff like that, like teams and everything like that? Or am I faded?
No, you're 100% right. I mean, like the teams are waiting for some of the big boys to make their decisions, and then usually it trickles down. But even then, like it's been surprisingly slow, I think, guys.
I think it's been a long time since the two top teams essentially didn't really look at any changes to fuel any possibilities. Plus, considering where EWC came, and how that's kind of influenced the change in schedule, I think that's also caused a little bit of a shift. Plus the pay cuts and stuff. I'm even shocked this LAT move is even a possibility. Like we're not there just yet. We're almost there, but even that possibility, I think, was a surprise to everyone. If LAT decided to not have the funds all of a sudden and make this move, yeah, I think you would be 100% right. This would be the slowest roster made of all time, like of all time.
I did tell you, Nature did say he's looking to invest this year.
He wasn't lying.
say it.
He wasn't lying, man. The guy was real.
Yu's joke might be right though about like Estreal to Rocker, right? Because obviously he was on that Rocker team G2 at the World Cup. The team was ass, but the SMG duo was not ass. So you know, the AR duo respectfully was us. But you know, all good.
Arse.
Arse.
Arse. I mean, yeah, no, like I said, like Vios is correct in saying that like we're about to hit October. I don't even know any fucking roster right now. The only roster I know that's sticking is FaZe and OpTic.
Yeah.
That's the only rosters I
The only
confirm.
official confirmation we have is that Renkor's going to Miami. And that's like it in terms of official roster confirmation.
And then you've obviously got like Beans tweeting out he's signed.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
You
yeah.
know. But it's definitely a slow off season, that's for sure. Kind of scary when you think about it, though.
And Falcons, that's true. That is true. Falcons have confirmed their shit.
It's kind of scary when you think about it, though, because this means that like orgs are like, you know, kind of scared to put more money into people.
Yeah, that's probably part of it as well. But also, you know how it goes. They don't want to sign contracts they don't need to when the game isn't even out yet. Another month until the game launches, they ain't trying to pay an extra month's salary.
It surprised me fucking Carolina's not released Gwyn to re-sign him.
Yeah, that is actually their classic, isn't it?
That's what they do. They fucking love that shit.
I'm hoping they get their shit bought out so they no longer exist. But you know, that's just my thought. Okay, Harrison makes a good point on OpTic and FaZe, whether they should have let this team form. So let's talk about how this whole thing happens, right? End of August. Scrappy's talking about, looks like he might be playing somewhere else. That's what the rumours are pointing towards. Toronto are potentially trying to sell. We then saw, a couple of days later, Nasty and Kremp removing Thieves from their bio. They've still not officially announced anything here, but clearly the conversation was had that Nasty and Kremp are going to be moved on from on the roster. Turns out that's probably also true for Joe Deceives, although I guess I should just check his Twitter real quick to see if anything's happened there, which it may or may not have done. But then we started to realise that, okay, they're taking it serious here over at Thieves. They're trying to make some moves. And we thought, okay, maybe they could get Sib, right? That was a possibility. Okay, Joe Deceives still has everything in his name, so just, you know, those are interested. Still says Thieves, all good. But not for those other guys anymore. So then the question was, all right, what's Toronto actually going to do? What changes are they going to make? The latest rumor then was that Scrappy was going to go to Cloud9, right? End of August, Ronnie was talking about this. Cloud9 are going to pull the trigger. They're going to try and get Scrappy for SIP. That was what the talking point was. And on the 8th of September, Ronnie then said, things are moving in the right direction, i.e. Toronto are nearly selling Scrappy. The deal is nearly done. They're trying to get a bag for him, which is a sensible business move 1 year before the end of his contract if you're running out of cash. I mean, you can keep Scrap for 1 more year and have some success, but at the end of next year, Scrap's probably just going to walk, especially if the roster does as well as it did this year, which wasn't good enough, because Scrappy wants to get his ring, obviously, at some point. One of the big storylines in the CDL, honestly, at this point is, you know, whether Scrappy's going to be able to accomplish that, because many of the other players as good as Scrappy have got theirs now. Obviously, Scrappy's only been around a couple of years, but it is what it is. Adam Adamu, co-founder, CEO over there, says, this ain't true. You know, we ain't doing that deal with Cloud9. And I kind of speculated at the time, is this just for negotiating power against potentially another party? But, you know, that's how things were going. And then fast forward a little bit more to a couple of days ago, and then we get this tweet from Adam. So, yeah, thoughts, guys, immediately. Then we'll go through this tweet, and then we'll talk about whether Thieves is locked in yet or not.
It's just that. Right? It's just the thing. It's just the thing we were saying about, like, it's just impossible to sustain these players, these contracts, unless they take a pay cut. But then you ask them to take a pay cut, and then they're like, "Well, fuck you guys. I'm gonna go somewhere else." You know. Unfortunately, Toronto probably feel like the most of this, but yeah, I think they still keep like a core good roster from this. It's not like they're just gonna dwindle down and look like ass. It's not like a, you know, It's not like they're just going to completely give up. It's just they're just going to lose one of the best players in the game, which unfortunately you just can't hold all the time. But we've seen it multiple times when the best player just wants to leave or wants to go somewhere else. And I think Scrap probably doesn't want to leave, to be honest with you. I know he likes Toronto. I know he likes living there. His girl lives there. So Scrap probably didn't want to go. But in an opportunity where he could go to Thieves and, play with HyDra, I think that's what probably swindled his, decision.
Yeah, I'm gonna come at this with a different angle. That team just looked like it wasn't gonna stick after major 3. They were underperforming consistently. It just looked like whatever magic they found that major 1, looking like one of the best teams ever created, compared to how they ended out the year, how hard of a fizzle out. That's got to be studied. Again, one of those peaks to valleys of a year that's just kind of surprising. I think midway through the year, if we look back and kind of even our own assessments, the only reason why we said Scrap wouldn't leave that team is due to some contract situations. But now, things open up. People are willing to sell. Money's becoming available. That changes the situation of what we discussed earlier. But if there was money available early in the year and we knew that, I would have told you 100% Scrap would not be on this team following this year. I don't think it's a shock that he's going somewhere else. I think there's a lot more people that want him, and like Trey Rap said, my bad, I'm not sure who said exactly, but yeah, letting him go to unrestricted and then automatically getting absorbed by one of the top 2 teams is way worse of a business decision, rather than at least making some money on him and giving him to another team that at least makes the league a little bit more competitive. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I'm shocked. I think Scrap leaving Toronto after the type of year they had and how it concluded shouldn't be a shock to anybody, really.
Yeah, so let's have a look at what Adam has to say here, because I think the honesty is, it's good to see him being super open about this, and the way that he says it is just straight up. He's like, we simply cannot sustain the contracts that we have. Like, we ran out of cash. And it's interesting why, just because there was a theory that, the team's just got refunded $25 million for these entries, which is obviously not fully true anyway. God, look at the mop on Trey. Incredible scenes. Wow, look at that stream.
You look like a schoolboy, fam.
We're going full screen real quick to have a look at this.
Leave me be, bro. Leave me be.
You look like a fucking schoolboy, man.
Bro, leave me be, bro. My hair's in a bad place right now, bro. Listen, man.
Listen, bro, my hair's not in the best of places either. Let's keep it $150. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, at least yours don't look like this. You know what I'm saying?
I respect
that's why I'm wearing the hat today. I don't usually wear hats. You guys know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's got to be bad though is when you got we talk about that the buyouts and them getting their 20 million back.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, they didn't pay the 20 mil.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. They did pay something.
They've already spent the 20 mil.
Yeah.
And now they're fucked.
Well, exactly. This is like, people were like, they're getting the 20 mil back, so now they can just drop a bag on players and shit. But it's not chalked again, is it? Bollocks. It's doing the same shit again. No. Okay. I will be back. Internet might be cooked again. Stream is good? Maybe it's just theirs, no?
Oh, we're back.
We're back?
Hello?
I didn't drop any frames during that. So I actually think that might have been Discord.
That might have been Discord.
I dropped 0 frames there.
Alright, we're back.
Okay, all good, all good. Apologies for that stream. Okay. I don't think we're good. I think we're good. Give it a second.
I can hear you. I can hear you, but you're not moving.
You're lagging hella hard there for a second. The stocks are crashing. I think we might be back. Let me just yap for a second, and then by the time I finish yapping, then it will be all resolved.
Lock it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we should be good. But the point I was trying to make is like, just because they got their cash back, it doesn't mean they have money to spend. And what Adam is kind of saying here is that they want to even... Basically, they talk about it being a prior CDL model, and now there's a new CDL model, and the best path forward is to just reset, is their perspective. So even though they're getting some money back, they're just going to call it a day. I think I will say from the Toronto side, regardless of what they've done over the last few years, they've always formed a team that has been to some degree competitive. And he does say that we're gearing up for an incredible year of COD in Toronto, right? So like that implies they are going to try and hopefully run another event, which is good news to everyone, I think. But equally, he says, you know, exchange rates and taxes are obviously an issue when based out of Canada. And even when they had the team of like Insight, Cleaner, Expanse, Cammy that wasn't necessarily expected to be a dominant force, they were still, you know, able to win events more so than was expected for sure. And the same story even back in MW19 with the roster with Classic and Methods and those guys as we had. So I still have faith in Toronto they can rebuild a potentially successful team. But they basically just ran out of cash and they've got to do a fire sale of their players. It's also quite an interesting negotiating position to be in when your counterparty knows that you cannot sustain the contracts you have. And maybe Thieves didn't fully know this, but like this is after the deal has, we believe, been agreed because he tweeted out the handshake emoji before deleting it. He's basically saying we could not in any world afford to keep these players on board and therefore we had to sell them. So, you know, Thieves got a bargain is the read between the lines here.
One thing I want to clarify too, if I'm not lagging, you guys can hear me, but yeah, the whole thing is that 25 million that people got back was not 25 million in cash. It was what was owed. Imagine you have a mortgage on a house or you have a debt you owe $1 million, right? You owe $1 million because you wanted to enter into this place. I didn't collect that $1 million from you. I didn't collect it. I just said, you can enter, but you owe me $1 million. Remember that. You made payments. Then I like you. I take a liking to you. I say, F it. That $1 million debt you do not owe me. That doesn't mean you got back $25 million. It doesn't mean you got back the $1 million. It means I just removed the debt of $1 million from you. So I want to make that clear that these teams don't have the type of money that we're imagining. They just don't owe the debt that we know that the entry fee that was supposed to be given. So I want that clarification to be there that like these teams are still running out of money fast. That 25 million debt was just another issue on their balance books that was resolved. But anyways, if we talked about this on a different show, the league had deferred those payments anyways. So they weren't even making those payments. So really, they're in the same situation that they were for the last several years. It's just the contracts themselves, the lack of sponsorships, and the lack of any type of good investment that's causing the problem. I wanted that to be clear, though. The 25 million is irrelevant completely to every org situation currently. It's completely irrelevant.
I think in the long term, it's still better for the structure of the league. But yeah, like I don't think it's somehow freed up loads of cash. Although it seems like Thieves have found a check down the back of Nadeshot Sofa or something, because this was the big tweet that the boys put together 13th of September on what they were describing at the time as a potential super team. This is what we knew then. HyDra and Scrap want to team up. Budget would be challenging, would require multiple buyouts, and this was far from guaranteed. But the theory was that Scrap and Envoy, they're boys. They want to team together. I mean, the story I mentioned earlier of running into Scrap in the airport, Scrap was there with Envoy. They were, you know, two peas in a pod, loving life. Then they got on the plane together in business class, enjoyed their flight back. Then the other day they were at the theme park together where they're not with their girls. So, like, it's clear they want to team up still, which is cool to see them getting along and want to continue being a duo. So that's obviously a thing, and Scrappy has some power in that negotiation too, as does Envoy when it comes to potentially returning to Thieves. People are talking about him playing a sleeper agent, right? Sleeper cell. Envoy goes over there to Toronto, hijacks the team, brings Scrappy back to the Thieves. It fits the culture and fits the narrative very well. But I think it was quite evident that Scrap and Envoy alongside Ghosty was possible, right? And the idea of getting Scrap and Ghosty together with Envoy there and, you know, maybe Joe Deceives would stay, whatever, that was plausible. And that seemed absolutely doable because clearly Toronto were in a difficult position to get those deals done. And Jake Cale has said, as of 3 days ago now, that the agreement is concluded. I don't necessarily know if this means contract signed, but the agreement here is done that Scrap and Envoy will join the team. The next question was then, can they get the HyDra thing done? But yeah, let's just talk real quick on like Envoy's return to Thieves as a prospect. And then this whole Scrappy Ghosty, the most zooted AR duo in the league.
Zooted is crazy. You know, one thing I wonder, like, this is just my personal opinion about this team, that the proposed super team, if we can go back to like the full 4-man tweet.
Yep.
I don't like this. Maybe I'm the faded one here, but I don't know how much I love Envoy on this team. I think he's the biggest variable. He didn't have the best year this year. It was a decent year, but there's definitely times that he looked vulnerable on Toronto, even with a great roster around him. He is a good fill piece. He's a good glue piece, so I understand what he brings to this roster. I get it. But I don't know. I mean, I think that a lot of the success depends on him. I don't know obviously, I don't know who you'd replace him with. But the other point I want to make of this proposed super team, the chat might be fucking losing their mind right now, but let's see. Is this super team actually better than OpTic and FaZe? Because I think we don't really consider as much, like we don't think about it, like how much of super teams those two are. OpTic crafted a almost perfect super team this year. FaZe is already almost a perfect super team with the core 3 and Draza being an addition. Is this team actually better than them? Is it even on par technically? I don't know. I'll be honest. Scrap and HyDra, I know people are, you know, they feel a little tickle in their pickle with it. I get it. I understand. But that's a big 2. Ghosty is a pretty good 3rd. Envoy's a pretty good 4th. But that isn't the big 2. That I don't think they compare. I don't think personally they stack up to FaZe or OpTic. That's maybe, roast me if you like, but that's just, I feel like you got to look at it on paper and look at it objectively, that OpTic super team and FaZe super team are better than this super team by far.
By far is crazy, in my opinion. Like, this is actually great. I like that Ace has this take, because then we could dive into it in a bit of detail. I think the reality is, we've seen OpTic play this year. We know that they can be the best team in the world when they put it all together. But we also know that there's a lot of flaws on that team as well, and we saw it. Obviously, they bowed out of the World Cup. They can't seem to beat FaZe. They had that ridiculous losing streak, losing to Boston, let's not forget. Crashing out at Major 4. Like, clearly, there are problems potentially underlying the surface in the OpTic camp. They're not just going to come out and be dominant every single event, right? There is a possibility of them struggling at times. We know that Pred had problems with his playstyle early on in the year, meshing with Shotzi well. We know that FaZe have had their weaknesses too in terms of getting the most out of their AR duo. A BZ didn't have his best year. I expect that to probably change, but getting the most out of Cellium was a concern for them. And obviously this team has its concerns as well. You don't know how well it's going to work. You don't know what problems they're going to have. You don't know how well they're going to be able to close in some of these other things. But you look at this team on paper, in my opinion, it's definitely as good as the other rosters. To me, like, you can even look at it just face to face. But for me, Scrappy, best AR in the game. HyDra, best SMG in the game, more than likely. You can argue Simp, but that's your starting point. We know how important and valuable Ghosty was, not just to last year Thieves, but also to the year before's OpTic, getting the best out of those players. And Ghosty is now going to be in like his 3rd year of competing. Like, he's going to be better than he was for the last 2 years, more than likely. Going to be kind of the communication leader for this roster. The idea that he's going to maybe elevate the level on from a communication perspective in the team, that maybe HyDra and Scrappy haven't had a communicator as good as Ghosty in their team for the last couple of years, and he's going to be able to bring that to the party and bring the hill time, basically what he did alongside Dashy when it was an OpTic. He can do that alongside Scrap here. And then the SMG duo, sure, it's a question mark, right? Whether Envoy is the perfect fit alongside HyDra. And look, I agree with your take, Ace, on one level, that is Envoy the weakest player out of the top 3 teams as it now stands? Is he the 12th best out of the 12? Like, probably yes, based on evidence. But does that still mean that he isn't arguably a better partner to HyDra than Kismet is? In my opinion, I think Envoy might be the best fit, or certainly up there as being the best fit alongside HyDra. Unless I can put like Shotzi or something. HyDra is just a do-it-all sub. Like, he's a Simp and a Beezy combined in some respects. He's Pred, but he's a bit better than Pred. And the idea that Envoy, when he played with SMGs in his past, would have some problems with, oh, he's going on a flank too late. Maybe he's leaving his SMG duo out to dry sometimes. Maybe Envoy's a bit predictable on the map. Like, he's filling the gaps, but, like, is his playstyle super effective? That kind of way that Envoy plays is perfect when your other SMG is literally doing everything. So, yeah, I mean, maybe there's some piece you could change to make the team better, but I don't really see it being possible in the current standard of the league.
I have a question then for you, just to present something, and I guess for chat, we'll present it for them as well. Is Envoy in your mind a bang out sub, like in a Beezy, like a Kiz? Is he a bang out sub?
No, he doesn't play like that. Like, he's a more... Well, he can play in a number of different ways, whatever the team needs. I think he's a versatile player for sure. But he is... You know, what he can try and be is the karma to OpTic Scump, as it used to be back in the day. And I just think that he can do a better and more consistent job of that than Kismet can. Does he play in the same way as Kismet? No. Will there be some adjustment time? Sure. But equally, there were questions on Pred and Shotzi going into this year whether they would work together. And they had their hiccups, but I think generally you put enough talent together and it's going to work.
My concern, again, is not the AR duo. The AR duo I'm very certified on, to be honest. Like, I don't think the AR duo is going to have any issue against any team unless it's like neck and neck, neck and neck with one of the top two, whatever. I agree with that.
Eddie, you trying to say something?
Yeah, I am, actually. It was a good pun, actually. The sub duo, though, HyDra's found success, a lot of success, obviously, like, regardless of his own solo talent. I was one of the first last year to say that HyDra was the best player in the league, and I got roasted because Sim, Shotzi, and everyone lost their minds earlier midway to the season. Or no, 3/4 way to the season. So I'm not discounting HyDra's talent. I just wanted to be clear that he's played primarily with head bash subs alongside of him. So he's used to having someone like Kismet running forward, going in, and he cleans up, or he can go make the play or make the flank. So I do think there is going to be some adapting that's going to have to occur with Envoy and HyDra. Two very smart players. I do think they can do it, but I'm very curious to see the kind of adjustments both players will have to make to compensate for each other. We saw, even with some hugely talented players, Shotzi and Pred, right, undeniable type players, that it took months, literally multiple events for them to really get it down pat, how their play styles can work. Working together and figuring out the pacing and figuring out who's going to do what. I think this is another case where we want to find it to be immediate success just because how excited we are for another super team to form. But if you really look at it on paper, really put down the play styles, it's going to be a little more troublesome in that sub department because of the two play styles.
What are we thinking, Trey boy?
Yeah, I think I agree with Ace. And that never happens.
This is outrageous. I'm not accepting this.
That never happens. But this team, like, so Joke said it in the chat. Like, this team will have great comms. 100% great comms. Do they compete? Absolutely. You had Ace last year saying how good Ghosty was last year. Top AR. We saw it. We said that he could easily go to a top 4 team. That's and we kind of agreed. He's gonna make his own fucking top 4 team.
And here he is.
And here he is. You've got the best AR in the game, the best sub in the game. I'll say this right now: if this team doesn't win an event next year, biggest disappointment in CDO history.
I actually agree with you, Trey, because this is the biggest roster move in the CDL history. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like,
biggest roster move in it. You've got the best sub in the game, the best AR in the game,
and you've signed them off 2 different teams, paying buyouts to both of them at the same time. Like, that shit never happens.
And we're sat here talking like Envoy's just like, we'll just throw him in there. No, it's fucking Envoy.
And he has history with Thieves. He has history with Chain as a coach.
Now, people are gonna say best sub in the game. What about Simp? What about blah blah blah?
It's 1A,
If we're
1B.
talking
Like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah,
HyDra is joint best sub in the game at worst. So, like, he's number 2. Like,
What do you mean?
He's still top 2. Shut up. Yeah, everyone shut up, bro.
Simp's the best. Simp's the best. Like, you telling me that if you had Simp and HyDra sat in front of you, I'm always choosing Simp just because. But if you had Simp and HyDra in front of you, you're not going to sit there and think, fuck, that's a hard choice. Like, you'd need a week to think about it. Seriously. You really would. You'd need a week to think about it. Listen, you got Ghosty, one of the best ARs in the game, and played for a way worse team than all the top 4 teams and still performed. Let's keep it real. They weren't a top 4 team. They weren't even supposed to do that good, but they done fucking well. They found form at the end of the year. Envoy, very, very good player. Had some rough spells in last year, but obviously he's got to be that good if Scrap wants to go with him to that team. And then Scrap and HyDra, like, do I even need to say more? Like, if you don't win with this team, you might need to retire. All four might need to retire.
Yeah, again, my whole thing, biggest X factor, Envoy, but I think people discount. This is definitely the biggest roster move in CDL history. That's a fact. Like, the biggest shift of combining of players in a singular team, making this big move. That 100%, I'll agree on that. But again, I think we discount the fact of how massive of a roadblock winning an event when you have FaZe and OpTic, 2 true super teams with players that are on the top of this, the CDL Mount Rushmore right now. Like, there's legends on those teams, right? Scrap and HyDra are young legends in the making. On OpTic and FaZe, we have certified legends on those teams. So, I don't know. It's kind of interesting to me, how is the new guard going to outpace the old guard now? Old is obviously in quotes right there, right? Old is 26, 27, 25, like old, right? But this is we kind of have to see. This team is like the passing of the torch in a sense. Are these young bucks going to get together and take out the OpTics, the Dashies, and the FaZe, the older guys who've had their reigns kind of being at the top of the league? So it is interesting. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying if I had to make my prediction, I was a betting man, which haram, I am not. I'm a halal man. You see the head. I'm a halal boy, okay?
Of course.
I would still honestly bet on OpTic or FaZe to outpace this team during the regular season and even in event wins. I would still bet on them 100%.
And that may be fair, but equally, I guess I would challenge you to form a better roster. Like, if you are literally the COD god down from the heavens, and OpTic and FaZe, you can't touch their rosters, and you have to piece together 4 players on the planet to try and form a team to beat OpTic and FaZe. Obviously, Scrappy and HyDra are no-brainers. Ghosty, I think, is also probably a no-brainer. I don't really know if there's anyone else I'd put in his role. Probably, I mean, I could argue that Ghosty was the best player outside of the top 4 teams last season. And then, what people are going to say in the chat is whether Kleenex for Envoy is a consideration, which I think it could be. And I think there's, something to think about there.
I think the only... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, someone put in the chat, this
Sib,
team is better than Ultra last year, who shit on FaZe last year. This team is better than the Ultra last year. So if we're basing it on that, this team might fucking cook.
They should cook. I mean, yeah, like the other... my point is that OpTic and FaZe last year had weaknesses. So
if I'm FaZe and OpTic, I'm scared of this roster. Because you sit there and you think, we expected Scrap and HyDra to leave somewhere, but we always thought it would be for an OpTic team or a FaZe team, correct? Now they just said, fuck you. We're going to join up together and we're going to take you down.
Yeah, which is what I said they should do after EWC. So good job they listened.
Yeah, for sure. We should start getting commission low key.
Yeah, low key.
We're GMing people's teams. No bullshit.
It's actually crazy.
We are due.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with the assessment. It's just... Go on, Ice.
Only one more thing I think I do like about this team, just in terms of CDL landscape. It's so much better, I think, and healthier that we have, even though it is more top-heavy, that we don't, like we said, in one more year, we don't just have HyDra and Scrap going to the top 2 teams, and it gets boring again in that sense. Like, now we have a third team that's willing to put some money in, make a super team. Now, instead of, 2 true super teams, now we have a third one. Hopefully Cloud9 still puts something together that's worthwhile. Falcons are going to be there next year. Hopefully, like this year, they're coming in with their, the same. They're giving their boys a chance, which I understand. But hopefully, in 1 year, they come in with a bag. So I do like this kind of precedent being set for the formation of a super team on a new org, going into next year and into the years where potentially we see Gentlemates, the Saudi team, and who knows who else coming in with a big stack of money that will be willing to put together and pull some of these players into different realms, different markets, different teams. This is a good precedent set by LAT this year. So I appreciate this team for that contribution to like the CDL as a whole.
Yeah, obviously it does make things pretty damn top heavy. And I guess there's a couple of other things to mention on this team before we get back into it, really. Is it guaranteed? I mean, Nature, after this was rumoured, he talked about it on stream, and he basically said it's probably not going to be that roster. He basically said, like, I want this team. If we can get this team, we're getting this team. And this was before any of the updates over the last couple of days that kind of implies that it was going to be happening. But yeah, Ryzy in the chat makes a good point that Thieves are like the biggest org outside of OpTic and FaZe, and it was kind of weird to have a year where they just weren't very good, especially compared to where they were the previous 2 years. So the idea that they're kind of like back as a top contender is actually very exciting. I don't know what it's like for his bank account, but because obviously it kind of been cheap to put this roster together, and they may have had to take some pay cuts to actually make that happen. But, CDL Scream Intel tweeted yesterday, this is now a done deal, basically. And we can expect this to be the case very shortly for the new season. So
I will say I will add a piece of intel just with everyone, that there were people did have to take pay cuts to make this team happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's not like a question mark. It's a true 100% fact. Pay cuts had to happen for this team. But again, I appreciate players for wanting to win enough where they're going to take a pay cut and push it through for the competitiveness, rather than, again, could Scrap or HyDra go to a different organization? Could HyDra go to Gentlemates? Could Scrap stay on his current team and demand more money and play with a shit roster? Yeah, I'm sure they could, but I'm glad they're pushing ahead here and really making this happen.
Agreed. Let's play this clip. I think this is the clip that Eoj pointed out was worthy of watching here. So, yeah, this is probably going to be tomorrow morning's video, to be fair. This is Shotzi talking about the new Thieves God Squad in the league as it stands.
What do you think about that 100 Thieves roster? It looked like a good roster.
It's definitely going to be interesting, though. I feel like the past two... I mean, I guess...
So quiet, right? But whatever.
Like, top 3 teams or whatever. Top 4 teams. Like, you could... Any given...
Gotta get that volume master plug-in, baby.
These guys,
I'm built like that.
Not being a thing, I feel like it's just going to be us 3. No bullshit. Just because of the fact that, like, every, like, player, like, Scrap and Paco and fucking Dylan, Dan. Oh, my God. I'm like, fuck am I missing? They've always been, like, on a good team. Like, them assembling, like, it's going to... Whatever teams that they were with, I don't think are going to be in the conversation anymore. I could be wrong, though. Hey, you never know. I feel like it is going to be weird for them. Or actually, probably not, like, Scrap, really, but playing with different people. That's, like, one thing that I had to adjust to. Playing with AG and I mean, not really Ken. Ken's more like kind of how I envision playing the game, so he kind of like fit perfectly. But at least with AG, like holy fucking shit, I had a hella switch up my. Not really switch. I mean, at first I had to switch up, but then like I got used to it. Like examples I could.
All right, I'm gonna play again real quick, and so the stream could actually hear. I found a way to turn it up, so I'm just gonna play the start of this again.
What do you think about that 100 Thieves roster? It looked like a good roster.
It's definitely gonna be interesting though. I feel like the past two. I mean, I guess it's barely started happening. What last year? Like the top 3 teams or whatever, top 4 teams. Like you could any given Sunday, you could kind of say like, oh, these guys, Ultra not being a thing. I feel like it's legit just gonna be us 3. No bullshit. Just because of the fact that like every like player, like Scrap and Paco.
All right, there we go. Stream. So Shotzi basically reckons, yeah, top three team league, which is fair, but also. I feel like we always see in COD and in esports in general, there's always one team that forms that's worse than you think it'll be. There's always one team that forms that's better than you think it'll be. The issue is, I guess, that of the top contenders, we only have one new team, and that's this one. Like, we've seen what OpTic and FaZe are capable of. Every other team is kind of a question mark on how good or not good they're actually going to be.
Also, keep in mind this game is going to be really different. Like, that's one other consideration, that Black Ops 6 is going to be a bit different movement-wise. So take into account, are these 4 players the movement kings? Not really. Scrap's not really. He's more of a hard aimer. HyDra, I mean, I will call him. He is a movement king. I'm sure he'll be fine adapting to it. Envoy actually was pretty good with movement, to be fair. Ghosty, have we seen him in a movement COD?
Yeah, but look
Not
at
really.
everyone else, really, realistically. Same
Like,
shit.
Other teams?
The only team that's probably, you could say, has got better movement than the other 2 teams is FaZe. You look at OpTic, they ain't really got any movement superstars.
No one on OpTic's a movement superstar?
Not like Shotzi. Shotzi and HyDra clear all 3 players.
Oh, that's fair. Okay, I'm saying Shotzi there. I mean, Dashy was good in movement COD, so we know that for certain. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a movement COD, he was frying, so we have that for certain. Ken is good in movement CODs. The only person we don't know really too much is AG. But when I asked him specifically, like, how are you in Jetpack CODs? How are you in Black Ops 4 and stuff? He said he really liked those games and he was good at them. So, I mean, is he gonna say anything else? Of course, he's not gonna say anything else. But my point is, again, the movement side of things too is another factor to consider with this team and how they're gonna be against the other 2 super teams.
I mean, Scrap was a god at the Jetpack games, was he not?
It's a different jetpacks, and this is kind of different, don't you? Would you agree?
Well, what game has Dashy been like cracked out movement at?
Cracked out movement. Black Ops 4. I mean, I said it's the closest thing to what we're gonna get. Slides and stuff. Probably the closest thing we're gonna get.
I mean, everyone was fucking good at that.
Nah, don't say everyone was good at it. That's crazy, bro.
Majority of people could fucking crack aim and snake slide.
Crack aim, slide, but who was better?
The only team that had issues on on Black Ops 4 was FaZe, because Enable couldn't snake because he has, you know. I've had this discussion before.
Say it, motherfucker. Say it.
You know, Zuma had like, you know, fucked up hand, and Clay used Eiffel Tower control freaks 2 stacked on each other. So, you know, realistically, you know. Listen, if you're good at COD, you're good at COD. If you suck at a new COD, like, I'm sorry, like, that's just the way it is. And I'm not roasting Ian. I've had this discussion with him before.
No, for sure. I just want to add all the layers to the pot. I want to add all the layers to the dip about what the difference is, because they're all talented. Again, these 3 teams, I'm not discounting any of the talent of the top 3 teams. I'm just saying what would separate them, considering this next game. I've made a few other points, but the movement
S&D.
point I think is one. S&D movement. I think there's a few other factors that adds. You know, you can tell where there's levels to this shit, and it's gonna be in those small things like the movement, S&D, and again, early game mechanics and getting used to each other. Like Shotzi in the clip even said with him and Pred early on, HyDra's been playing the same guy for several years now. Like, it's going to take some adapting when you have a whole new team and a whole new player. He's been playing the same 2 guys for a couple of years now, so I think it's going to be a bit of adjustment to happen for this team in comparison to OpTic and FaZe, who are same guys sitting back down and running it back again.
Yeah, I think the search and destroy is one question, I guess, with this roster, as to how strong they're going to be in that mode, just because it's not, like, they're all good search and destroy players in their own rights, but there's nothing, it's not like there's it's difficult, isn't it? Because Simp is not exactly an S&D superstar, because he's a superstar in every game mode. And, like, that also applies to most of these guys too. And, you know, as we said before, that Ultra team with Scrap on, that Rio search, they took down FaZe, the Game 5 Round 11, pretty famous, and important in the grand scheme of the entire season. So, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's exciting for the league to have another team that can seriously contend, because if it was just Ultra making a small tweak to try and upgrade, or if it was just potentially Cloud9 making a small tweak to try and upgrade, it would not hit the same as the way that this team is potentially going to be hitting. Even Ghosty's tweeting out more anime gifs today, so, like, you gotta think You gotta think.
Yeah, that's
right?
one thing. We gotta stop that. We gotta stop that.
He's done a
We
few of
gotta stop
these.
that. Remember that formal tweet? It was a formal tweet.
Yeah,
Where it was
yeah,
like people waking up just tweeting anime gifs, just ready to get shit on us.
I'll see if I can find it real quick.
Oh
If I
my
can find
God.
it.
Oh, I'll probably find it.
Yeah, I mean, wait, this I don't know if it's this one. There's some other ones as well.
People
but,
feel so hard tweeting anime gifs before a match.
yeah, there might have been
That was
some other
his
ones.
tweet.
That was the first one that
That
came
was
to.
sweet.
Yeah, that's good work though. Had a formal, of course. We got some other teams to dive into as well here, real quick. So, what do Ultra do about this whole situation? That's kind of the next question here, really, because they're losing Envoy, they're losing Scrap. Insight, his tweet that he's an unrestricted free agent is still, or a restricted free agent, sorry, it's still there, and the same applies to Clearnix, although he never tweeted about it. So, you know, if someone's going to buy out Scrap and Envoy, it's plausible someone tries to buy the other guys out as well, but less likely, right? I mean, if you're...
I think they're happy staying there, though.
Yeah, and I think they'd probably be happy to stay, and that's the latest rumor that probably Clearnix and Insight will run it back. They're like being a duo. Probably they're going to end up staying there, even though it wasn't necessarily Ultra's initial plan. They're just going to see how things are gone.
Well, there's also the rumor that they picked up, you know.
Well,
was it
yeah.
Benjamin Beans.
Benjamin Beans. So this is the tweet. He signed the contract. It's locked in. Beans apparently is going to be joining Ultra. I'm not going to lie, of all the options in the league to replace Scrappy, I think Beans is the man to get. Like, you got the whole UK, European thing. He brings the energy. He's got the gunny. Is he anywhere near as consistent as Scrap? No. But, you know, he likes talking some trash. He's a talented player. You can get him for free, which is not true of Sib, which is... There's a question on this, I guess. If Sib was a UFA, do Toronto get him? I'm not saying should they have got him, because if the fans chose, the fans would say get Sib every day of the week. But if I'm Insight and Clearnix, is Sib... You know, it's the same thing as Cloud9 from like a chemistry point of view, right? Like, my feeling is that Insight and Clearnix will get on better with Beans than they would with Sib. Just a feeling. But I imagine money was probably the key factor in play here. That they don't want to pay a buyout from Cloud9, is the theory. But to be fair, they're fourth. They're apparently going to pay a buyout for. So maybe that doesn't really apply. And also they want to
but
fully
there's a difference between buying a player out and buying Sib out.
Yeah, who's the hypothetical fourth you're saying here?
Real is being touted as the fourth player. That's what's been going around yesterday. Yeah, Jake Kell, I think, was tweeting about it as well. That Real is... I think he actually did a follow-up tweet. We can find it real quick. Where he said that Real is the #1 option for Toronto. And which is kind of out of left field. I mean, when you're looking through the options for Toronto, let's say it is Insight, Clearnix, Beans +1. You're looking at the SMG options you can get. You're looking at, you know, TJ. You're looking at Nero. You're looking at, you know, Estreal or like some of these other candidate options. But Gwyn would be probably the ideal guy, but he's locked under contract. Real is not really someone I considered. As good as he has proven to be, and he can speak good English, and obviously a European-based team, I didn't really think he would even be especially available, to be honest. Because you'd have thought he would be locked into their Miami roster. But of course, they've got 5 men right now. The rumour was Vickle was going to go. But if Rencor is signed, which he is, and if Real is potentially available, then yeah, that's what's going to be happening, I imagine.
That's a great pickup. Real's I mean, I've been talking about him. He's a great player, disgusting guy, knows exactly what's going on in the maps. Definitely, you know, not the traditional Spanish COD type of player, not a head basher necessarily, really understands the game. So I could see him and Clearnix being a nasty duo together. It makes a lot of sense to me. And, you know, Beans, I think your take on the Beans pickup makes it just perfect sense. Everyone would love to see Sib come there, but the guy said himself they're out of money, bro. Like, what do you want him to do? Him going on the books and spending another bag is not gonna make sense with the company or anything he's trying to do. So Toronto's creating the best team they can with the options they have. Do I think they're going to be a super team and take out the top? No. Do I think there'll be moments when they take some maps and take maybe a series off the top guys in the regular season, or shock somebody at a tournament? For sure, for sure. I think this team, if it is how it's touted to be, is going to be a competitive team. You know, I think that they'll be definitely on the upper half and compete against the top 3 for sure.
I mean, and when you also got to look, you know, you remember the Bants video?
I was just about to find a tweet about that, yeah. Well, let's find Bantz's tweet first, and then I'll find another one. Here
Yeah,
it
the
is.
Bants one, it was very confusing though. They just threw that bait out there and never really followed up with much, really.
Yeah, because literally the end of their video after the EWC, Bantz sits down, and what does he say here?
Feels good to be sat down doing these again.
It's like good to be back or
Yeah,
something.
basically a good to be back type thing. So, like, you know, there's obviously something going on. I mean, Trey probably knows, to be fair.
I actually don't.
Interesting.
I don't even charge my phone no more, Rab. That's how disconnected I am from the world right now.
I'll rate that out of you.
You guys are lucky I even replied to your message in the chat because I was in that 10% battery and I was laying in bed.
This is the other tweet I was going to find. So, Ronnie said, ultra
Benjamin
interested in
Bantz.
Real, and maybe Bantz is coming. I mean, I know there's been people that have said to me, like, are they not just going to run back the Cold War team? Well, firstly, no, because Cammy's on Boston now. Although I guess if they really wanted him, they could probably get him. But it's not impossible that they bring back an Insight Kleenex Bantz trio. Like, I don't really like it. All due respect to Benjay Bantz. Benjay to see. But, you know, Hixie's an interesting one. Because Scrappy himself said, bring Hixie in. That's the play. But Kleenex and Hixie, I don't know. It's just all about the slaying, isn't it? This is the issue with role players. Even Envoy. Like, Envoy is a very talented player who can do a number of things. But Envoy coming alongside HyDra is like, wow, sensational. But most SMGs can come in alongside HyDra and probably do a pretty damn good job. The issue is when you don't have quite that caliber of teammate. But then again, Kleenex is also very good as well. So, yeah, Real, Bantz, Hixie, there's options out there. Clearly they're going down the European route, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, that I feel like that's their best route. One, because they've been down it before, and two, it's just a cheaper route if we're being realistic.
Yeah.
You
The
know?
only other route that would be a little cheaper maybe would be like Estreal versus Real. Maybe that's a little bit cheaper. No buyout, and probably lower contract.
They want a full European team, so Estreal will be out the question.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I see that. I see the vision they're going for. But if it was fully a cost-effective team, I think that's the one change for cost-effectiveness that I could see out there.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I think the final team we're going to mention really on the show today is what Surge are therefore going to do, because
My boy Nasty's
this is the big rumors of late, and Jake had also tweeted basically a similar thing, that Nasty's coming in here. So, you know, nasty.
Nasty.
No,
my boy Nasty.
he's getting nasty with it, as
It's
ever.
getting nastier. It's getting nastier, man.
I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think putting in the Young Bucks, Abuza 04, along with Kremp and Nasty, if that is the team, not Hixie, I think that is, to me, the best bet of what you can form. Just because you get two guys who play together well, and two guys who play together and have performed well, with two guys who play together and perform well, I think that just makes a lot of sense. Hixie, tossed in the mix, I see the potential for it, but I see more of a risk when you take a Hixie on rather than keeping Kremp and Nasty together. Also, where the hell is Joe Deceives?
Probably Cloud9 would be my guess.
A lot of people are saying Cloud9, yeah.
Yeah, it makes the most sense, I guess.
Because he
I
kind of he gets on with Skies, doesn't he, as well? But then it's like but that's the thing. If we've got the idea of Sib is gonna stay, well, if our feeling is probably the best thing to do is to keep Sib and get rid of the other two, but obviously that does involve cost and stuff, because you know you'd want to try and sell those guys, and you might not be able to do so especially easily. And you still want to sign Joe Deceives anyway, But then if you bring Joe Deceives on, he's going to get along with Skies. Like, they're a bit of a duo. Joe Deceives and Kiers is a duo. Then Skies is still there, but then you can't get Sib back. So then the point is, where does Sib go? And, you know, I know people in the chat are mentioning G2, what they're up to. And that's an interesting conversation because Lindsay's going to stay. The rumor was that Cobra's coming in on one of the ARs. Potentially they keep Estreal around, although maybe not. And then Sib's got to go somewhere. And then, you know, as people are saying as well, what about Geo, right? Great player on Vegas last year. I saw someone put together a team that was like Slasher, Geo, Nero. I mean, even like Creo World has said in the chat, Slasher, Geo, Nero, Gwyn, something like that, if you could do it on like the Ravens.
Slasher and Geo don't make sense together.
I mean, I think it could work, personally.
Geo and Slasher's too slow. If you wanted a high risk team, you think that's too fast? Wait, why a face rap? Talk to me. Why?
I mean, like attach and Geo just works, no? And Slash is faster than attach.
They didn't work. That was the issue. It's too slow.
I also don't think the numbers say that Geo's slow. Like that, yeah, I don't know. I think Geo's slow. I don't.
If
maybe
you watch
he's slower.
Numbers that. I don't give a fuck about numbers.
Cobra.
Yeah.
I mean, Cobra and Geo play similar. They play slow. They're slow guys who play for their kills and play for their lives. They're always playing for their lives at every time. So you need a balance. If you're gonna do Slasher and Sib, attach and Sib, fast guy, slow guy, Slayer with more methodical. But if you put Geo and Slasher or Geo and attach, there's reasons why that team couldn't find much success in general and beyond just them. But I'm gonna say that AR duo itself was another reason why, like, they're too slow paced. You need to match pacing with ARs, especially in games like this where movement's gonna matter a lot more. And yeah, you're not playing domination or TDM, bro. You gotta get a kill and start moving. Somebody's gotta start moving.
Yeah, low key.
People saying Real tweet. I've checked his timeline. He ain't tweeted shit unless he's talking about this tweet, which I guess is what they're talking about. So, what are you looking at me for? I don't know. I feel like this is pretty likely the Real ends up over there. There's just loads of pieces that could still happen in Rostermania right now. But there's not that many organizations really that need to find things. Like G2 is a big question mark, especially because surely they are going to take it semi-seriously. That was a zipped mouth emoji. Very interesting. Cloud9 have to form something relatively competitive. It's a... Yeah, and then Ravens as well. But behind the scenes, there are still conversations about whether these organizations are getting sold or not, right? I think that's one of the questions. Did he tweet anything else? People are saying he tweeted stuff. I'm hitting the refresh on this.
Check the replies unless something there.
Oh, he did. Look at him go. Wow, 47 seconds ago, boys. We are getting the latest info here.
We also know Real watches this show, so he might be seeing us.
I think
talk
that
about
may,
him on
yeah,
the
that may be part of
show.
it. Real, if you're listening, post another tweet. I'm gonna hit refresh in a minute.
Are we fueling narratives, Real? My bad, gangster.
Yeah,
Our
my bad,
man.
my bad. Drop some intel for us, you know what I'm saying?
Intelception? No bullshit
drop us
Intelception
some
right now,
intel.
bro.
I'll drop a like as well, just, you know, like, I respect it. Good work.
Our boy's watching right now, and he's like, ah, shit, here we go again.
Absolutely, always. But yeah, guys in the chat, questions in the chat right now on what you think about this whole Rostermania cycle, what you think is going to happen next, what you think about some of these rosters, what teams might or might not be formed here, because yeah, there are some big ones, and then it's going to be a serious trickle down. I mean, where's Attach going to end up, for example, right? These are serious questions.
Attach, Slasher, and Sib are still just names in the... And Priesta too, right? Like, we got names that are
Priest
just
is another one, yeah.
Yeah, we have big names just sitting there with waiting on the top to form. They're waiting on guys to form and figure shit out. But there's a lot of names out there that are just waiting to get picked up, waiting to see if they're going to have a spot next year. It's kind of crazy, man. Again, this Rostermania, as slow as it's been, it kind of leads to so many questions once you really break it down of where people are going to land and how teams are going to form.
Yeah, I like people talking about this whole attached Sib AR duo idea. It's an interesting concept. Cloud9 could potentially do it, but, you know, who knows?
And again, I'm friends with both of them. They get along pretty well too. Like, personality-wise, Attach and Sib make a lot more sense personality-wise than, you know, the NYSL team this year. Like, they would actually be friendly, get along, be able to chat in and out of the game, even hang out. So, like, I think that duo makes a lot of sense on paper. A little bit, I think Slasher Sib makes a little less sense, to be honest with you. But I don't hate either one. But Attach, Sib, and 2 more, I think would be your best bet if you're a 5th place or 6th place team looking to make a roster. Those 2 should be top of your chalkboard, top of your whiteboard to build around. We circle this and build around those 2 guys.
Yeah, people comparing
Rostermanias.
Go on, Trey.
I was gonna say people are gotta be. You gotta be content with what you're getting with when outside the top 3 now. Your main goal is to make a roster that you think can. One, win events, because I'm sick of teams saying, "Oh, we're just trying to get to champs." No, you win events. That's what you're there for. You're investing heavy money. You know, I'm sick of hearing that as an excuse. Your main goal is to win events, so start making teams that are going to win events. Fuck this friendship bullshit. You know, start picking up the best players. If it ain't, you know, if you feel like it ain't going to work, listen, just look at Estreal and HyDra. HyDra didn't speak a lick of English, didn't know any American players or anyone like that. He made it, like, you know what I'm saying? They worked their way up to where they're at now. Played with players that HyDra probably didn't want to play with, but made better in game. And that's what teams have got to start doing. You know, this whole like friendship league. Let's start getting the fucking best players to play with each other. You know, if you don't think it's going to work out, you've got to make it work out. You know, you're grown adults. You got to start locking in and shooting straight and working with the players you want to work with. That's my rant over and done with.
It's a good ass rant, Trey. I'm not gonna lie. You cooked, low-key.
Thank you.
But I do think last year's Rostermania was just insane. I mean, and also it was moving so quick and for such a period of time. Obviously, we knew the Pred stuff was happening to OpTic, but even then there was like some crazy shit of him getting on a flight, and people were like tracking his location on Snapchat or some shit. Like, it was getting wild. And then the Kenny thing came out of nowhere. The fact that every team last year made a change as well was like that was a serious one, because that doesn't happen very often. And this year it's pretty much just been one big move. But we weren't expecting it necessarily this year anyway, because we wondered like, oh, next year the contracts are going to be up for Scrap and HyDra, then they're going to make a move. But it's happened this year anyway, which means that next year is like, you know, all sorts of stuff is still possible, because the OpTic guys, the FaZe guys contracts are going to be possible. So yeah, all sorts of possibilities. Hendy says, attach Sib, Gwyn, Joe Deceives on Cloud9. So this would be interesting. Like, if you're Cloud9 and you can get, if you keep Sib, which is probably the sensible thing to do, but I don't think they're going to do it. The thing is, to buy out Gwyn, you'd probably have to like sell one of Skies or Kismet to somebody else. I don't really know if you're going to be able to do that. That's the problem.
Yeah, who's gonna buy them? That's the part with C9 that I think that's the position they're in. It's like, if you're looking at a business sense, somebody's willing to buy Dante for sure. No one's really gonna buy out the other 2 guys. Even though, like, back to Trey's point, if you're gonna make the best roster possible, you're gonna keep Dante. But business-wise, I can make some money on him. The other 2 guys, I don't have, you know, no one's gonna buy them, so I might as well just keep them for the time being. It's kind of a shitty. It's kind of a, what it's called, a catch-22 position that you're in, being the C9 management. It's unfortunate, but really, we're gonna find out your true colors in a bit here, Mr. C9 guy, Mr. C9 Jack. Do you care more about winning, or do you care more about saving money in business? We'll find out soon.
Rail's not done a follow-up tweet, so, you know, you got to think he's not trying to drop any more intel. Kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. You got to think there's something going on over there. Okay, we're coming up on 3 hours on the live stream being live. Just wanted to go through one final topic real quick. I thought it was kind of interesting. Hackers in COD, Trey. I know that you deal with this bullshit.
Oh my God.
And one of the main reasons you're out of there, because this is, again, a problem in the Black Ops 6 beta. Skunk was talking about it on stream the other day. They're like, he ain't bothering playing the game after Season 1 every year because it's just chalked. Too many hackers, and it's an absolute disaster class. again.
one of your one of the main advocates for the league and competitive rank play, and bringing eyes to Call of Duty competitively, and he doesn't want to play the fucking game. Am I shocked? Absolutely fucking not. And you're gonna see this from multiple people.
Yeah.
Because COD can't stop hackers.
The guy with the biggest voice is complaining about it too. That's unbelievable, actually.
And they're just sat there like, we got Ricochet, guys. We made this. It's fucking mint. Oh, pros are getting banned. They get shadow banned, reported shadow banned. But no, no, my guy, yeah, spin button, 90 kills per hard point, yeah, still fucking rolling around, saying fuck the CDL. Okay, my bad, brother. Lock in. Nah, it's a joke. And like I said, you'll see pros that won't play the fucking game because of it. They'll try and play money 8s and stuff like that, but they won't touch rank play. It's pointless. You get to a high enough rank. What's the point of being that good at a video game if you're just going to get pissed on by some guy called Steve that lives in Liverpool?
What the fuck you have against Steve in Liverpool, dog? You better chill out, bro.
I told you, I don't trust Scouts.
He's a nice guy, bro. He's a nice guy, man.
Don't trust Scousers in COD. They just fucking absolutely spin bot you everywhere. Every Scouser I run into, spin botting. Telling you.
Trey, it's the Scousers. I'll tip it.
No, I mean, it's going to be, let's be realistic. Like, unfortunately, it's going to be the same thing again. We know it all. There's not going to be a change. Black Ops 6, day 1, day 2, until day 365. There's going to be hackers, cheaters, whatever it is, running the ranked streets. Just hope that there's going to be less than this year. If that'd be the best case scenario, if anything. But maybe Microsoft blesses us, Trey. Maybe, can I speak from an idealistic sense? Can I do that once? Maybe Microsoft changes the game up. Maybe they step in and they really put down they put their schmeat on the table and they decide, this is it. We're done for. The cheaters are done for. We're Microsoft. We're a $300 billion company, and we're going to stop these hackers once and for all.
Oh, you're about the same people that own Halo, and Halo's rampant with hackers too. Is that the same company?
I'm being idealistic, Trey. Stop being a negative Nancy.
There's an idea, if you're going to be idealistic, let's just go back to console and play COD, because that's the only way it's going to stop.
Now that's some critical thinking right there out of Trey boy, man. That's some critical thinking, boy. Got an Xbox controller right there, bro. Take us back. Take us back Xbox. Take us back to take us back to anything controller. And I'd be a happy man, to be honest. Make COD great again. Let's put it like that.
I remember every few years I would go through these cycles.
That's what, bro. Someone just said, Trey, play on PS5. I did on MW3 when I streamed and done 24-hour streams. That's what I did do, because I couldn't stop the fucking hackers.
Yeah. I remember back in World War II when Nameless and the boys, they had #ReviveCOD. You remember that? Back then, it wasn't as bad as this in some respects. So, we're trying our best. We're keeping the scene alive. You know how it goes. But we've just got a 3 hours live on the stream. The show itself has gone for like 2 hours 45. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to be back. It's been an absolute pleasure to have the chat along with us as well for the ride. Rostermania is well and truly underway. There's more to come over the coming days. So sub to the channel, all that good stuff. And we will be back shortly, I'm sure, with more confirmations on these things, and also what's going to be happening next. Where's SIB going to end up? What are Toronto going to do? What are Cloud9 going to do? How can these teams realistically be against the 3 super teams that we potentially have? But yeah, gentlemen, final thoughts, and then I'll let Ace close us out, because he loves doing that.
Go ahead, Trey.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Glad I could get out of bed for this, because I woke up at fucking 8 p.m. once again. Listen, if you don't know what I'm doing, I'm role-playing as a Mafia member. So if you do like GTA role-play streams, come tune in. I'll be live after this for the rest of the night. I think the plan is to now try and run shows every time now. Everyone stop being busy. Thanks, Rab, for being on holiday 24/7. And Ace, I don't know where you are. But
I always make time for a show. I always make time for a show. This has been a thing for me. Always.
I know you're around. So listen, yeah, no, the reason the shows haven't been happening, we've got Globetrotter, me who's asleep, and Ace who is always around, so you can blame us too. But we're rolling in. There's about a month left till COD does come out, which means that's a month till the season starts, where you guys get shows every week. And I can't wait to, you know, cover the year again with these fine gentlemen.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, we appreciate you for watching. We appreciate the support. We turn on the stream randomly. Don't even say we're going to go live and, you know, 200 people just pop in here, just randomly decide when Scump's live. All these guys are live and you still decide to come here, learn about some drama, hear the hot takes. I'm back, baby. I'm putting my hot takes in, baby. We're in. We're doing the damn thing. Guys, more confirmations, more news, more leaks means more dope checks. So, hey, Jacob Hale, CDL Scrimintel, all the boys, get it locking, get it popping, start getting the news running out so the boys can come back here, give more dope check episodes and more content to the people. From myself, Rab, and Trey, we thank you for watching the video, the stream, and everything else. More dope checks soon, and we're out. Love you guys.
See ya.
Bye.